Chapter 16:10. Pinewood scoffed. The Alliance leader isn't in the Alliance. Even if she was, we wouldn't hand her over. Humph. The giant dragon scoffed. You refuse a toast only to drink a forfeit. If you want to die, I'll grant your wish. Roar. The giant dragon's furious roar echoed through the sky. A dragon's breath tore through the void and attacked the group of humans on the ground. Watch out. Xiaoxi shielded Xiaoyan with her body, shielding her from the crowd. Xiaoyan's body stiffened. He could feel a warm liquid slowly dripping onto his face. It was moist and carried the stench of blood. He slowly raised his head. At that moment, his heart trembled and tears almost rolled down his cheeks. Aunt Xiaoxi. The woman in front of him was bleeding from her orifices. The bright red blood stimulated his nerves and made his body tense up. Get out of here. Tell the Alliance leader not to go to the Dragon Clan. You mustn't. Don't go to the Dragon Clan. Bang! Xiaoxi punched Xiaoyan's chest. Xiaoyan's body flew out and he tried to grab Xiaoxi in a panic. However, he could only watch as his companions moved further and further away from him. The giant dragon glanced at Xiaoyan coldly but did not chase after him. He scoffed coldly and expressionlessly said, "He's just a half-beast human boy. I'm not interested in killing him. It's better to let him go. That way, someone will inform Yun Luofeng." Xiaoxi's body could no longer support itself the moment she sent Xiaoyan away. She collapsed to the ground with a loud thud. Blood seeped out from under her body and stained the ground red. Xiaoxi! Pinewood's eyes were about to split open. Flames of anger shot out from his eyes as he turned towards the giant dragon in the void. Even if we die here today, we will die without regrets. The Alliance leader and the others will definitely avenge us. Avenge? The giant dragon spoke in a condescending tone. A bunch of insignificant humans want to seek revenge on the Dragon Clan? The Phoenix Clan is our Alliance leader's subordinate. Do you think the Alliance leader has the ability to avenge us? Pinewood clenched his fists. Haha. The dragon laughed maniacally. No wonder you dare to look down on the Dragon Clan. It turns out that you have the backing of the Phoenix Clan. How dare those little birds provoke the Dragon Clan? If the Phoenix Clan really dares to come, I'll shoot one if one comes. If a pair comes, I'll shoot a pair. Even though the Dragon Clan and the Phoenix Clan were considered to be at the pinnacle of the Beast Continent, but you can imagine how could the two of them, who were considered to be the strongest in the continent, admit that the other party's battle prowess was on par with theirs? The dragons looked down on the phoenixes, and so did the phoenixes. Lord Pinewood, let's fight this dragon to the death. If we are unfortunate enough to die here, then we will continue to be brothers in hell. That's right. In any case, everyone would die one day. What was the difference between dying earlier or later? We can even go to hell to scout for the Alliance Master and the Vice Alliance Master, haha. Perhaps it was because they were too afraid that these people suddenly said such insolent words to hide the trembling in their hearts. Motherfucker, I've had enough of these days of hiding. I'll go first and you guys can follow me. A burly man cursed as he charged towards the giant dragon. His eyes were filled with madness. Stop right there. Pinewood shouted anxiously. Unfortunately, it was too late. The burly man had only reached the giant dragon when his body was instantly engulfed by the dragon's breath. Pinewood's pupils shrank. Before he could retract his outstretched hand, he saw another comrade disappear before his eyes. Chapter 16:11. Damn it, let's fight it out with him. His companions could no longer endure the anger and fear in their hearts. We can't let our dead brothers die in vain. That's right, even if we can't kill this dragon, we have to dig out its scales and use it as a sacrifice to our brothers' souls. Everyone recklessly rushed towards the dragon. Only the man who had slandered Yun Luofeng sneaked away while no one was paying attention. At this moment, everyone's eyes were on the dragon. Thus, no one noticed his escape. Blood dyed the ground red. The people of the Wind-Chasing Alliance were like heroic warriors. Even though they were facing the fear of death, they still did not retreat. They had enough of hiding. They might as well fight to the end. Even if they died, they would go to the Yellow Springs together and forge a new path. Dragon Clan. They arrived at a towering mountain peak. The terrain of this mountain peak was treacherous. Faintly, there was a strong sense of danger coming from the valley. Who dares to be so bold as to trespass into my dragon clan? A muffled sound came from within the valley. Not long after, a huge body rushed up and covered the entire sky. It's the dragon clan's mountain guardian dragon. Nangong Uni narrowed his eyes. Its strength is at the early stage of the Saint Monarch. The dragon in the sky heard Nangong Uni's voice and looked down at him. Its eyes were filled with arrogance and disdain. The deep voice was like a heavy hammer that ruthlessly smashed into the hearts of others. Humans? A group of insignificant people. Why have you come here? We're here to find someone. Yun Luofeng raised his head slightly. His evil eyes swept over the dragon in the sky. Our dragon clan doesn't have the person you're looking for. So leave this place immediately. Otherwise, I won't let you leave Dragon Mountain. The dragon's voice was disdainful. It did not put Yun Luofeng in its eyes. In its opinion, it was already good enough for him to let her go. If she did not know what was good for her, then she could not blame him for being impolite. Oh, Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows and smiled. Then I want to see how you're going to make me unable to leave Dragon Mountain. Humph. The dragon's nostrils spewed out a white mist. Its eyes were filled with arrogance. I can fulfill your wish. Roar. A loud roar resounded through the sky. The dragon's mouth gradually widened, and a powerful force was contained within it. Soon after, a dragon's breath was spewed out. It was as if the sun had fallen from the sky and dyed the entire sky. Bang. The dragon breath smashed into the ground. With Yun Luofeng as the center, everything within 100 miles turned into ruins. The giant dragon smiled proudly. Under its dragon breath, those 3 humans had no chance of survival. But the next scene caused the huge dragon's pupils to suddenly tighten, and its expression suddenly changed. The dust settled. The man stretched his hand forward. His black robes fluttered without any wind. He was as cold as a god of death. A powerful aura lingered around his body, causing a hurricane to form around him. Just now her dragon breath was blocked by this man with a single hand? Impossible. When did humans become so powerful? Perhaps because she was blown by the hurricane beside the man. Her white clothes fluttered in the wind, and her fine black hair was like a waterfall, lightly brushing against the woman's cheek. It was so beautiful that people forgot to breathe. Whoosh. While the giant dragon was still in shock, the woman standing on the ground had already disappeared. Chapter 16:12. By the time he turned around, he realized that Yun Luofeng was already standing in front of him. The woman's eyes were filled with a sinister smile. The corners of her lips curled up into a smile, but for some reason, it gave off a creepy feeling. He had been the guardian divine dragon for so many years, but this was the first time he felt fear towards a human. Is your dragon race very powerful? The woman's lips curved up slightly as she asked with a smile. The giant dragon's voice wasn't as domineering as before, but it was still not to be outdone. That's right. Our dragon race has always been very powerful. Is that so? Yun Luofeng smiled evilly. If that's the case, I want to know if your dragon race is more powerful or if my water dragon is more powerful. What? The giant dragon's eyes widened in shock. A dragon race actually submitted to a human? But before the giant dragon could react, Yun Luofeng suddenly raised his hand, and a transparent figure gradually appeared in front of him. This was a blue dragon with domineering and fierce eyes. It was even more ferocious, as if the giant dragon in front of it was only its food. Roar! The water dragon's roar reverberated through the entire sky, causing the mountains to tremble for a long time. This water dragon is only a soul. Why is it so powerful? A trace of panic flashed across the giant dragon's eyes. Even if he felt that this water dragon was only a great sage, but he didn't know why, but the water dragon gave him a strong sense of oppression. One could imagine how powerful the water dragon must have been when it was alive. In the void, 2 giant dragons stood facing each other. The giant dragon couldn't suppress the fear in his heart in the end. He turned around and wanted to escape, but an angry roar came from behind him, scaring him so much that he trembled and almost fell. For spirit beasts, the suppression was extremely strong. The water dragon was very powerful when it was alive. Even though it was only a soul now, it could still make other dragons feel fear. Especially when the guardian divine dragon was only a low-level great sage. Bang! When the giant dragon turned to escape, he accidentally bumped into a figure. He hurriedly stopped in his tracks and looked at the man who seemed to have appeared out of thin air. The man was dressed in blue robes, and his handsome face was gloomy. He looked coldly at the divine dragon that was fleeing in panic. What happened? Lord Dragon roar. The mountain-guarding divine dragon was on the verge of tears. You're finally here. These humans said they were looking for someone in our dragon clan, and even sent a water dragon to threaten me. Oh. The blue-robed man stared coldly at the water dragon in front of Yun Luofeng. He laughed mockingly. A mere water dragon spirit can scare you to such an extent. Indeed, you can only be a guardian dragon forever. In fact, with the strength of the mountain guardian divine dragon, it was more than enough to become an elder. Unfortunately, this dragon was too timid and often ran away in the face of battle. In a fit of anger, the king demoted him to a mountain guardian divine dragon. I long ye never kill a nobody. So, tell me your name immediately. The blue-robed man raised his eyebrows slightly. His expression was condescending, and his tone was arrogant. The blue sword in his hand was pointed at Yun Luofeng, who was in the void. His arrogant eyes were mixed with disdain. Yun Xiao and Nangong Yuni had unknowingly arrived at Yun Luofeng's side. The two of them stood on her left and right, protecting her from any harm. Leave it to me, Yun Xiao said in a low voice. A little worm. I'll deal with him quickly. Chapter 16:13. You overestimate yourself. The blue-robed man's expression suddenly changed and his gaze became even colder and arrogant. A mere human dares to provoke the dragon clan's dignity. Are you looking for death? Nangong Yuni was very displeased with the blue-robed man's attitude. He scoffed. Yun Luofeng Yun Xiao, let me teach him a lesson first. If I don't beat him until he cries for his parents today, I will kneel down and call him father. Yun Luofeng? These three words suddenly fell into the blue-robed man's ears. His pupils suddenly constricted and a murderous intent flashed across his eyes. He was just about to look for her. He didn't expect that she would actually deliver herself to his doorstep. It looked like even the heavens were helping him. You aren't fit to call out Yun Luofeng's name. Nangong Yuni slightly raised his chin, clearly not putting this dragon clan cultivator in his eyes. The blue-robed man didn't get angry. He laughed sinisterly. Yun Luofeng, hand over the fire spirit fruit. Fire spirit fruit? Yun Luofeng's brows furrowed slightly and a cold light flickered in his eyes. I don't know what you're talking about. You still dare to play dumb at a time like this. The leopard clan's eldest princess has already told me that you have the fire spirit fruit in your hands. Hand it over right now. Maybe I can still spare your life on account of your sincerity. The blue-robed man extended his hand and ordered in a domineering manner. Yun Luofeng's eyes narrowed. He didn't expect that it was actually the leopard clan's eldest princess who was behind this. I don't have the fire spirit fruit. Yun Luofeng spread his hands. It's up to you whether you believe me or not. Compared to a cunning human, I'm more willing to believe in a spiritual beast. If you don't hand over the fire spirit fruit and cause me to be unable to save my beloved Hong Luan, I will make you die without a burial ground. Hong Luan. These two words fiercely crashed into Yun Luofeng's heart, causing it to tremble. It was also at this time that Yun Xiao decided to make a move. The moment before Yun Xiao made his move, Yun Luofeng quickly grabbed his hand, causing the aura on his body to be completely withdrawn at this moment. She took a deep breath and suppressed the surging emotions in her heart. She looked coldly at the blue-robed man. If you can tell me the cause and effect, perhaps I can save someone. What she said was to save them, not to hand over the fire spirit fruit. However, in the heart of the blue-robed man, it was clear that Yun Luofeng was unable to resist his threat and intended to hand over the fire spirit fruit. You're all going to be dead anyway, so what's the harm in telling you? The blue-robed man sneered. Hong Luan is the woman I love. Unfortunately, if the two of us get together, then the child she gives birth to will definitely be a half-beast human. His bloodline will not be pure, and it will definitely affect the child's talent. So, he smiled and said, when I heard that the frost fruit could solve this problem, I fed it to her. Who knew that the side effects of the ice frost fruit would be so severe? We need the fire spirit fruit to save her. Yun Luofeng clenched his fists tightly. the anger in his heart almost bursting out. With Hong Luan's personality, how could she stay in the Dragon Clan to raise her children when her own life and death were unknown? Talk about love? So, all these signs pointed to the fact that Hong Luan was definitely being forced. However, in order to satisfy his own selfish desires, this dragon had actually forced Hong Luan to consume the ice frost fruit. She would never let him off. No wonder so many people couldn't find Hong Luan, so she had been captured by your Dragon Clan. Yun Luofeng smiled. This smile was extremely cold and murderous intent burst forth from his pitch-black eyes. His domineering aura leaked outwards and was extremely demonic. Anyone who dares to harm her will be punished. Chapter 16:14. The blue-robed man was stunned for a moment before he regained his senses. His lips curled into a cold smile. You know Hong Luan? His smile was filled with cold killing intent. His aura also gushed out at this moment, turning into a hurricane that lingered in the air. No matter what, he would not let anyone take Hong Luan away. Hong Luan was his. In this lifetime she could not leave him. Yun Xiao, don't interfere in this matter. Yun Luofeng raised her head slightly, her demonic eyes quietly staring at the blue-robed man in front of her. This dragon. I want to deal with it personally. Yun Xiao hesitated for a moment before nodding slightly. All right. He had said that if she wanted to fight with her own strength, then so what if he stood silently behind her to protect her? He had never thought that Yun Luofeng was a woman that needed to hide behind a man for protection. Instead, she would do everything she could to protect the safety of the people around her. Humph. The blue-robed man snorted coldly. The smile on his lips was cold. That's right, Hong Luan has been locked up by me. So what? She is my woman. She is destined to stay in the Dragon Clan and bear my children. Nangong Yuni stood behind Yun Luofeng and looked coldly at the blue-robed man who had provoked her. He clicked his tongue. This fellow is really not afraid of death. Yun Luofeng is the type of person that becomes stronger the more you provoke her. Yet, he still dared to say such words in front of her. Isn't this the same as thoroughly angering Yun Luofeng? Boom! Sure enough, a spiritual energy storm suddenly appeared above Yun Luofeng's head. This storm was very dangerous as it engulfed her entire body. The blue-robed man was a little surprised. Low-level Saint Monarch? This human girl was actually a low-level Saint Monarch? No wonder the divine mountain guardian dragon was intimidated by her, unfortunately. So what if you are a low-level Saint Monarch? Our Dragon Clan's battle power far exceeds our own level. Otherwise, we would not have such a supreme position. The Dragon Clan had thick skin and strong flesh. Coupled with the power of a humanoid beast, under normal circumstances, a low-level Saint Monarch human would not be able to defeat a high-level Saint Venerable Dragon Clan. The reason why the Mountain Guardian Divine Dragon was intimidated was because it had not obtained the human transformation fruit and could not transform into a human. Yun Luofeng stared coldly at the blue-robed man. Her demonic and lazy face was now covered in a layer of evil coldness. Her slightly narrowed eyes were filled with a biting chill. Did you force Hong Luan to eat the frost fruit? Yun Luofeng's voice was evil, and his pitch-black eyes were filled with a cold light. You already know the answer. The dragon race was proud, and this pride would not allow him to bow his head in front of humans. If that was the case, how could he lie? Roar! The water dragon's soul in front of Yun Luofeng let out an angry roar. Its body turned into a beam of water light that shot straight at the blue-robed man. The blue-robed man quickly retreated, his footsteps leaving deep marks in the void as he raised his hand to block the water dragon's attack. Bang! The water dragon slammed into his arm, and a cold feeling spread from his arm to his heart, causing his body to tremble. As a fellow water dragon, I can sense that this water dragon was very powerful when it was alive. Otherwise, it wouldn't have given me such a feeling. Unfortunately, he's already dead. The blue-robed man smiled disdainfully as he slowly walked towards Yun Luofeng. Swish! With a wave of his hand, a long sword formed from a water column appeared in his hand. Chapter 16:15. What threat does a dead dragon pose to me? The blue-robed man laughed coldly. He didn't seem to care about the water dragon's soul at all. More importantly, this water dragon's soul wasn't complete. It had been absorbed into Yun Luofeng's body, and because it couldn't be digested, it could appear in this form and fight for her. What if I add this to it? Yun Luofeng narrowed his eyes, and a dangerous glint flashed across his eyes. She slowly raised her hand. With a loud bang, endless flames emerged from Yun Luofeng's body and gathered in front of her, gradually forming a huge ferocious beast. Roar! The beast retreated and let out an earth-shattering roar. Under this roar, even the mountains trembled. You can actually control water and fire, two opposing elements? The blue-robed man's expression changed. The water dragon and the flaming beast were actually in a state of balance in Yun Luofeng's body? However, have you forgotten that I'm also a water dragon? How can mere flames suppress me? Ha ha ha. That might not be true. Yun Luofeng smiled, and her eyes shone with a demonic light. In that instant, the flaming beast and the water dragon charged at the blue-robed man one after the other. In the sky, the dragon's roar shook the heavens. The flaming beast also quickly rose, and powerful flames instantly attacked the blue-robed man. The blue-robed man's expression finally changed when he felt the huge pressure brought by the flaming beast. His eyes were filled with fear, and he didn't dare to take the attack lightly anymore. He pointed his finger and instantly, a sky-blue transparent barrier appeared in front of him. Boom! Flames filled the sky. The bright flames dyed the entire sky like a gorgeous sunset. It was extremely gorgeous. Cough cough. The blue-robed man staggered a little and almost fell to the ground. He coughed twice and his blue robe became ragged. His eyes changed from the initial fear to anger. The dignity of the dragon clan cannot be challenged. You are fated to not leave our dragon mountain. At this moment, a cold voice with a deep sense of oppression came from the front. What happened? In the end, this action still attracted the other experts of the dragon clan over. Your Majesty. When the blue-robed man turned around, he saw the white-robed man behind him in a few flashes. There was joy in his eyes. Your Majesty, this human is extremely audacious and has come to challenge the dignity of the dragon clan. Your Majesty, please order the elders to take action and capture him. Under normal circumstances, the Dragon King would not go personally. His body was getting weaker by the day, and he was only holding on with his last bit of willpower. Of course, only the members of the dragon tribe knew about this. The white-robed man placed his hands behind his back and frowned at Yun Luofeng and the others. He said indifferently, "You came to my dragon clan just to challenge the dignity of the dragon clan? I'm here to find someone." Yun Luofeng's evil eyes swept towards the man in white. The dragon clan has captured my friend. I'm here to take her away. If the dragon clan refuses to release her, I'll have no choice but to force my way in. The white-robed man's brows furrowed tighter and tighter as he turned to look at Long Yin. What's going on? Long Yin raised his head arrogantly and looked at Yun Luofeng disdainfully. These humans are here to snatch my wife. Of course, I won't allow them to snatch my wife away. Your Majesty, please seek justice for me. Chapter 16:16. The man in white muttered to himself for a moment. This woman could actually injure Long Yin. Then these people's powers must not be ordinary. Their old ancestor had yet to appear and the dragon clan was no longer the same as before. They could not afford to provoke any more enemies at this time. Hence, the man in white hesitated for a moment before saying, "Everyone, your friend has already become a member of my dragon clan. Please return and let bygones be bygones. How about that?" Your Majesty. Long Yin's heart suddenly trembled. We can't let these people leave. This woman has a fire spirit fruit in her body. Only the fire spirit fruit can save Hong Luan. That's right. Only with Yun Luofeng's death could Hong Luan survive. After saying this, Long Yin turned towards Yun Luofeng. You said that Hong Luan is your friend, then I believe you're willing to sacrifice yourself for your friend. If you watch her die without saving her, what right do you have to snatch Hong Luan from my hands? Yun Xiao swept a cold glance at Long Yin and slightly raised his hand. With a loud bang, a force hit Long Yin's chest, causing his body to instantly fly out. Before the Dragon Clan elders could react, they saw Long Yin's fallen figure. Their expressions changed drastically as they stared angrily at Yun Xiao. Human, how dare you be so impudent in front of us? Your Majesty, if we don't kill these people, how will our Dragon Clan have the face to stand in this world? The man in white did not speak as he stared unblinkingly at Yun Xiao's sleeve. Was he seeing things? Just at the moment when Yun Xiao had attacked Long Yin, he had clearly seen a small worm hidden in this man's sleeve. Furthermore, why did that little worm look so much like his old ancestor? Can you let me see what's in your sleeve? The man in white did not give a reply to the Dragon Clan elder's pleas. He raised his head and looked at Yun Xiao anxiously. The Dragon Clan elders were all stunned, not understanding why His Majesty was interested in a human sleeve. Could it be that this human man's sleeve was hiding some sort of treasure? Inside the sleeve, Little Worm curled up and cursed Yun Xiao in his heart. Why didn't you use your other hand to attack Long Yin? That way it wouldn't have been exposed. Little Worm's heart was filled with resentment. Even though it was the ancestor of the Dragon Clan, it didn't want to see these people, let alone return to the Dragon Clan. Yun Luofeng glanced at the Dragon King, and then thought of what the Little Worm had said earlier. He had a vague answer in his heart. However, ever since the Little Worm heard that it was going to return to the Dragon Clan, it hid in Yun Zhao's sleeve. From this, one could tell that this little fellow did not want to return to the Dragon Clan. At the thought of this, Yun Luofeng pressed down on Yun Zhao's hand and raised his head to look at the walking Dragon King, his expression insolent. Not only did the Dragon Clan capture my friend, but they are also so insincere. Why should I do as you wish? Your Majesty. Long Yin clutched his injured chest and crawled up from the ground. He glared at Yun Luofeng. These humans are too presumptuous. Since that's the case, we'll just snatch the treasure. In the Dragon Clan, His Majesty's temper had always been not very good. Those who offended him would often meet a very tragic end. Therefore, of all the things that Yun Luofeng could do, he had to offend His Majesty. This time, His Majesty would definitely not let these humans leave. Seeing Yun Luofeng's attitude, His Majesty was even more certain that the person hiding in Yun Zhao's sleeve was the ancestor they had been searching for. Suddenly, he knelt on one knee on the ground. His voice was loud and his tone respectful. I am the Dragon Clan King. I hereby respectfully invite the ancestor to appear. Chapter 16-17. The dragons were dumbfounded, their faces full of shock as they turned dumbly towards the man in white. Was His Majesty stupid? How could the elder ancestor be in a place like this? Just as the dragons were thinking nothing of it, a little worm that looked like a green crystal slowly crawled out from Yun Zhao's sleeve. Its movements were very slow, as if it was wriggling on the ground, as if it was unwilling but helpless. The man in white was overjoyed. He did not expect that he had guessed correctly. The little figure that he had caught a glimpse of earlier was his elder ancestor. However, the members of the Dragon Clan felt as if they had been struck by lightning. The moment the little worm appeared, they were instantly petrified. Was the elder ancestor really in this place? Were they dreaming? In contrast, Long Yin's expression was extremely ugly. He clenched his fists tightly, his entire body trembling uncontrollably. Why was the elder ancestor with this man? Elder ancestor, you're finally willing to show yourself. The man in white was overjoyed. We've been searching for you for far too many years. The little worm snorted coldly from its nostrils, its expression especially arrogant, looking down on everyone else. I didn't want to return to the Dragon Clan. If it wasn't for the fact that all of you had knelt down and begged, I would never have shown myself. In reality, it had no choice but to not show itself. Who asked it to be discovered? All of this was because of Long Yin, this despicable dragon. Elder ancestor, your willingness to show yourself is already a great gift to the Dragon Clan. As the king of the Dragon Clan, I beg you to return with us. The little worm's expression froze. Its originally transparent green body instantly flushed red. It was not known if it was ashamed or this. The little worm coughed dryly. You know what happened in the past. I had originally intended to lure that god-level cultivator away. Who knew that that god-level cultivator was so stupid that he could not find me and even destroyed the Dragon Clan. Even though no one in the Dragon Clan was injured or killed, their 1,000-year foundation was destroyed in a day. Countless treasures were also snatched by that miraculous cultivator. Even the previous Dragon King of the Dragon Clan was snatched away by that god-level cultivator to become his mount. This was the disgrace of the Dragon Clan for many years. It was also the reason why the little worm did not dare to return to the Dragon Clan. There were so many beast kings in the beast continent, but he was probably the only one who ran away from the battle. Ancestor, this isn't your fault. The white-robed man looked very agitated. Everything you've done has been for the sake of our dragon clan. Who would have thought that this god-level cultivator would be so stupid? You had clearly planned to lure him away, but he actually didn't fall for it. Little Worm was dumbfounded, his eyes glazed over. Was the Dragon King of the Dragon Clan stupid? How could he not see through such an obvious flaw back then? Ancestor, you are the pride of our Dragon Clan. You are also the greatest person in the history of our Dragon Clan. All of our Dragon Clan are proud of you. Little Worm was completely dumbfounded. It suddenly felt that it was not impossible for the people of the dragon race to be a little stupid. At the thought of this, the awkwardness in the little worm's eyes faded. It cleared its throat and said in all seriousness, "That's right, this ancestor is just that great. Even though the plan went awry, everything this ancestor did was for the sake of the dragon clan. For all of you to remember this ancestor for so long, this ancestor is indeed proud." The corners of Yun Luofeng's mouth twitched. She knew very well that this little worm was afraid of death. In order not to fall into the hands of that god-level cultivator, it had fled the dragon clan. Chapter 16:18. However, from her mouth, her cowardly behavior from back then had become a noble act. These dragon clan members were indeed stupid beyond words. No wonder Longyin trusted the leopard princess so much. Little Worm looked pleased. That's right, he was not a coward who ran away from battle. He was the hero of the dragon clan. Welcome back, elder ancestor. The man in white curled his lips. Once the elder ancestor returned, the dragon clan status would immediately surpass the Phoenix clan and become the #1 in the beast continent. Wait! Little Worm suddenly stopped the man in white, then turned to look at the pale Longyin. What did you say just now? You wanted to marry my mistress friend? You even wanted to kill my mistress and take away the fire spirit fruit? Cold sweat trickled down Longyin's face. He opened his mouth but couldn't say a word to defend himself. Wait a minute. Mistress? The elder ancestor actually called this human woman mistress? The man in white opened his mouth in shock. Elder ancestor, these two humans are not your slaves? He had always thought that these two humans were nothing more than the old ancestor's slaves. But, according to what the elder ancestor said, this cold man in black was actually his master? How was he able to subdue the elder ancestor? Idiot! Little Worm rolled his eyes. If he is not my master, why would I appear by his side? The man in white was speechless. What it said seemed very reasonable. He could not refute it. Little Worm snorted and no longer looked at the man in white. Instead, he looked at the trembling Longyin. I've been with mistress for such a long time. Why have I never seen any fire spirit fruit? This was what the leopard princess told me. It's impossible. Suddenly, Longyin came to his senses and widened his eyes in anger. Could it be that damned woman was lying to him? I want to see Hong Luan. Just at this moment, Yun Luofeng's evil voice sounded, causing the surrounding temperature to drop a few degrees. The man in white hurriedly glared at Longyin. What are you waiting for? Bring this lady's friend here immediately. Longyin's expression was ugly, his tightly clenched fists trembling slightly, but he clearly felt powerless. Yes, your majesty. No matter how Longyin thought about it, he never imagined that Hong Luan would be related to the old ancestor. If he had known this earlier, perhaps he wouldn't have been so impulsive and paid the price that he couldn't recover from. However, your majesty, because of Hong Luan's body, she is unable to leave the ice bed. Therefore, we can only invite them to see Hong Luan. Hong Luan cannot appear. The man in white's face turned even uglier. He never thought that things would develop to this stage. Thinking of this, he glanced at the little worm carefully, afraid that the dragon's roar would provoke the elder ancestor. Then what are you waiting for? Hurry up and lead the way. In a snowy mountain cave, a woman in red lay quietly on an ice bed with her eyes gently closed. Her skin was snow-white like ice and snow, emitting waves of cold air. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps came from outside the door, causing her to open her eyes, and a cold light flashed in her eyes. What are you doing here? I've said it before, I'd rather die than become your wife. If you force me, I don't mind dying with you. Poochie. Suddenly, A soft laughter was transmitted over. Soon after, an extremely familiar voice entered his ears. Chapter 16:19. Hongwon, it wasn't easy for me to find you. Do you want to die with me? Hongwon's body froze. She clutched the corner of her clothes tightly. Disbelief flashed across her pale face and anxiety appeared in her black eyes. It's her? No. She's already dead. How could she be here? I must be hearing things. What? We haven't seen each other for more than 3 years. You're not even willing to look at me? The familiar yet demonic voice was so close to her ears. Hongwon's heart could no longer contain her excitement. She turned her head slightly in an instant. The woman in white stood quietly at the entrance of the cave, which was illuminated by ice and snow. Sunlight poured down from the sky, landing on her peerlessly beautiful face. Her white robes were whiter than snow. She was so beautiful that one would forget to breathe. Yun Luofeng. This name was too old. It was so old that Hongwon's eyes turned red. It's really you? Hongwon, I'm here to bring you back. Yun Luofeng slowly walked in. Her steps were very light. However, in a few steps, she arrived in front of Hongwon's window. Her slender and fair fingers gently grabbed her arm. In an instant, a wave of spiritual power flowed from Yun Luofeng's palm and gathered in Hongwon's body. After a long while, she let go of Hongwon's hand. How do you feel? Much better. It's not that cold anymore. Although Hongwon's condition was caused by the ice frost fruit, she had to stay on the ice bed if she wanted to keep her life. Her body, which was already extremely cold, became even colder after being frozen on the ice bed. But at this moment, she felt a warm current flow through her body. I've temporarily suppressed the cold in your body. I'll treat you later. Now it's time for us to settle our debts. Yun Luofeng placed her hand in front of Hongwon. Hongwon grabbed her arm and stood up. Her charming yet determined eyes stared quietly at the woman in white who was standing in front of her. After a while her lips curled. Yun Luofeng, you're still alive. That's great. Yes. She's still alive. That's great. At this moment, Hongwon could no longer control her tears. This was the first time in more than 20 years that she had cried so bitterly in front of someone. When she was betrayed, she did not cry. When she was forced to marry, she did not cry. When Yun Luofeng died, she also did not cry. But now, after seeing Yun Luofeng, she could no longer hold back and vented the emotions that she had been holding for the past 3 years. Yun Luofeng stepped forward and gently hugged Hongwon's shoulder. A murderous look flashed across his slightly lowered eyes. Hongwon, you have suffered for the past 3 years. I will not allow anyone who has harmed you to get away scot-free. Hongwon smiled. Her face was filled with tears. Apart from Long Yin, there was another bastard who injured me. Long, I don't know her. However, at that time I had discovered a holy spring. After bathing in the holy spring, my power would rise. Hongwon's eyes were filled with rage and murderous intent flashed in her eyes. Who would have thought that a bastard would barge in by accident? Yun Luofeng was stunned. He did not know why, but he felt that Hongwon's words were very familiar. He seemed to have heard them somewhere before. It's fine if he saw my body, but that bastard had a nosebleed. Hongwon clenched her fists. The only weakness of the holy spring is that it cannot be tainted by blood. His nosebleed has tainted the holy spring and caused it to lose its effectiveness. Chapter 16:20. Yun Luofeng, at that time, I had already stayed in the holy spring for 3 whole months. I had to endure 3 months of torment. Just one more day and I would have broken through. Hongwon's tears fell again. This time she was not crying because she was sad, but because she was feeling sorry for herself. Tell me, should I kill that bastard? Yun Luofeng nodded his head subconsciously. He deserves to be killed. So if the heavens have mercy on me and let me meet that bastard again, I will tear him into 1,000 pieces, skin him alive and pull out his tendons. If Hongwon was you, for example, you had painstakingly earned 3 months of hard-earned money, and suffered for these 3 months, and was just 1 more day away from receiving this sum of money. Furthermore, this sum of money would have been life-saving. After all, to Hongwon at that time, every increase in strength was especially important to her. But the person who was going to pay you that sum of money actually ran away. Could it be that you were so angry that you wanted to kill him? You probably even wanted to fuck his ancestors. Yun Luofeng, when the time comes, I don't need you to help me take revenge. Just help me tie up that kid. I want to kill him with my own hands. No, killing him is not enough. I want to whip his corpse 100 times. Unfortunately, that kid is too good at running. I let him escape every time. Hong Luan's teeth chattered. She had never hated someone as much as she did now. Yun Luofeng rubbed his nose. He had a feeling that the person Hong Luan was talking about was Nangong Yuni. Let's go, the others are still waiting for us. Yun Luofeng's lips curled into a smile, and he supported Hong Luan as they walked out of the cave. In the Dragon Clan's palace, Long Yi knelt on the ground, his entire body trembling, his face pale. He bit his lip, his eyes filled with fear. Little Worm's chubby little body stood on the high platform arrogantly, looking down at the dragons kneeling below, his eyes clearly filled with disdain. This ancestor has only left for a short while, and your dragon clan has already become so depraved, to the point of kidnapping women. One of the dragons muttered softly, "Isn't the beast continent like this? Why can't our dragon clan do the same?" "Shut up." Little Worm was very angry. "This ancestor is so great, how could I have a group of wretched descendants like you? Whoever dares to commit such a grave mistake in the future will not be forgiven." As they spoke, the sound of footsteps came from the front. When they turned their heads to look, they saw Yun Luofeng supporting Hong Luan as he walked over. Yun Xiao slowly walked to Yun Luofeng's side and silently stood by her side. Only when her cold and grim eyes looked at her would they show a rare sense of warmth. Hua! Hong Luan's eyes suddenly widened. She pushed Yun Luofeng's hand away and quickly shot forward. Nangong Yuni was scared silly. He did not expect that the person he wanted to find was actually Yun Luofeng's friend. This woman was especially aggressive, as if she would not rest until she killed him. Seeing that Hong Luan was already in front of him, Nangong Yuni quickly fled towards Yun Luofeng. "Yun Luofeng, help me stop this crazy woman." Hong Luan was so angry that her face turned pale. She gritted her teeth and said, "Stinking brat, I will make you pay for destroying my holy spring. Prepare to die." Actually, Hong Luan did not really want to kill Nangong Yuni. What she had said to Yun Luofeng earlier was only said out of anger. However, if she did not teach this stinking brat a harsh lesson, it would be difficult to dispel the hatred in her heart. Bang! Chapter 1621. Hong Luan's foot landed on Nangong Yuni's butt. In an instant, Nangong Yuni's body flew out and rolled a few times before stopping in front of Yun Luofeng. He hurriedly patted his pants and quickly hid behind Yun Luofeng. "She's the crazy woman I told you about." Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows. "I know you peeked at her bathing, so she chased you all the way. Then you were tortured to the point where she didn't continue to chase you. Instead you went out to look for her, right?" Nangong Yuni's face turned red. He looked at the furious Hong Luan and couldn't help but shiver. "Yun Luofeng, don't worry about that for now. Help me stop this crazy woman." Yun Luofeng shrugged. "Sorry, I just promised Hong Luan that if I find the bastard who peeked at her bathing, I'll help her kill him." Nangong Yuni's face instantly turned ashen as he looked at Yun Luofeng with a face full of resentment. That expression was like that of a resentful woman. "Yun Luofeng, you're so cruel. She's your friend, and our friendship isn't shallow either. Are you going to help her and not me?" Yun Xiao frowned. He was clearly very dissatisfied with Nangong Yuni's use of the words, friendship. "Yun Luofeng, get out of the way. I must make this bastard suffer." Hong Luan was so angry that her entire body trembled. Her tears almost fell again. When she thought of how her 3 months of hard work had been wasted, she couldn't help but want to tear him into 1,000 pieces. "I just peeked at your body. Is there a need to yell at me to kill me for so many days?" Nangong Yuni curled his lips. "At worst, I'll take responsibility." Hong Luan sneered. "How are you going to take responsibility? The holy spring was so precious. Could he take responsibility?" Yun Luofeng swept his gaze over the two of them and realized that their conversation wasn't on the same channel. "Of course I'll take responsibility for marrying you," Nangong Yuni said straightforwardly. When Hong Luan heard this, she became even angrier. Her eyes burned with anger. Dream on. Marry her? Would she marry someone who destroyed her holy spring? Don't even think about it. When Long Yin heard Nangong Yuni's words, he also suppressed the anger in his heart. This stinking brat was clearly a toad lusting after swan meat. He actually dared to spy on Hong Luan. If he hadn't used the wrong method, Hong Luan would have long been his woman. Your Majesty! Right at this time, a Dragon Clan guard came to report. The guard by Long Yin's side, Long Yun, has returned. He also said that he must see Long Yin. What do you think? The white-robed man glanced at Long Yin and ordered, "Let him in." "Yes, Your Majesty." As soon as he finished speaking, a dragon's roar pierced through the sky and landed in the palace. After a while, a man in a green robe slowly descended and respectfully knelt in front of the man in white. "Your Majesty, this subordinate requests an audience with Lord Long Yin." Logically speaking, as Long Yu's subordinate, he would not have come to the palace to seek an audience with Long Yu. However, there were too many people here and he would definitely cause trouble. But he heard that Lord Long Yin had made a mistake and was about to be imprisoned by His Majesty. For this reason, he had to seek an audience with Long Yin and tell him about the matter. Therefore, the Dragon Clan was really stupid. Since Long Yin had made a mistake, then wasn't his coming here just adding to Long Yin's mistake? Moreover, he didn't even find out what mistake Long Yin had made before he hurriedly came to seek an audience. The white-robed man glanced at Long Yin's subordinate and asked in a deep voice, "What is it?" Chapter 1622. This. The green-robed man instinctively glanced at Long Yin. A trace of conflict flashed across his eyes. He did not know if he could say this in front of His Majesty. Cold sweat broke out on Long Yin's forehead. "Your Majesty, this matter." However, before he could finish his sentence, the man in white glanced at him coldly and said in a low voice, "What? Is there something we can't hear?" Long Yin's body felt weak. This giant dragon was the one he had sent to the Leopard Clan to kill Yun Luofeng. Then he remembered that Yun Luofeng was now in the Dragon Clan and that his subordinates must have failed to kill her. Thus he said, "Speak directly." "Yes, Lord Long Yin." The green-robed man cupped his fists respectfully. "I followed your orders and went to the Leopard Clan to find that woman called Yun Luofeng and snatch the fire spirit fruit from her body." Who knew that Yun Luofeng was no longer in the Leopard Clan? Long Yin looked at Yun Luofeng and Yun Xiao and felt a little awkward. He coughed dryly and said, "Since you failed, you can leave first." "Lord Long Yin, although I failed to kill her, I heard that Yun Luofeng was related to the Wind-Chasing Alliance. Thus, I killed everyone from the Wind-Chasing Alliance just now." Haha. The green-robed man laughed out loud. He did not see Long Yin's expression change at all, and did not care about the others at the scene. Instead, he looked at Long Yin as if he was asking for credit. "What did you say?" Nangong Yuni was furious. His tightly clenched fists made cracking sounds. "You killed people from the Wind-Chasing Alliance?" The green-robed man was stunned. He looked at the aggressive Nangong Yuni in shock and looked a little dumbfounded. "Lord Long Yin, this..." Long Yin's heart was filled with hatred. This thing that couldn't accomplish anything but was good at spoiling things. He only asked him to kill Yun Luofeng. He did not say that he was going to destroy the Wind-Chasing Alliance. How was this going to end? Thump! Suddenly, Long Yin knelt on the ground and sobbed uncontrollably. "Your Majesty, this has nothing to do with me. This bastard acted on his own. I did not ask him to touch anyone from the Wind-Chasing Alliance." The green-robed man's face was full of shock. At this moment, Nangong Yuni's fist had already landed on his face. Bang! Under this punch, the green-robed man instantly took a few steps back, and blood flowed down from his nostrils. "Who are you?" The green-robed man gritted his teeth and asked. Nangong Yuni's complexion turned ashen, and the veins on his forehead bulged violently. He was like a dangerous volcano, and the lava that he spewed out could corrode other people's bodies. "Who am I? You touched someone from my alliance and you still dare to ask who I am?" Nangong Yuni lifted his leg and ruthlessly kicked the green-robed man's chest. In an instant he was sent flying. If it were in the past, the green-robed man would definitely crawl up and fight Nangong Yuni to the death, but at this time he felt that the atmosphere was very wrong. He didn't dare to resist at all, and could only let Nangong Yuni's attacks fall fiercely. Nangong Yuni was purely venting his resentment. If he killed him, it would be difficult to dispel the hatred in his heart. So, if he didn't beat this bastard to death, how could he avenge his dead brothers and sisters? Tears flowed down from the corners of Nangong Yuni's eyes. His attacks became more and more ferocious, and he hit the green-robed man until he kept vomiting blood. In these 2 years, his brothers and sisters from the Wind-Chasing Alliance had accompanied him through all the difficulties and tribulations. However, when the crisis of the alliance collapsed, those brothers and sisters who had accompanied him until now were actually already dead? How could he accept this? Lord Long-Yin. The green-robed man looked at Long-Yin pleadingly, clearly wanting to know what had happened from him. Long-Yin laughed bitterly. Yun Luofeng, whom I asked you to kill, is already in the Dragon Clan. Chapter 1623. What? The green-robed man widened his eyes in shock as he stared at Long-Yin's deathly pale face. Seeing that everyone's gaze was on him, he couldn't help but shudder violently. Humph! Standing on the high platform, Little Worm twisted his fat body and crawled forward. His gaze was arrogant as he looked down on the green-robed man kneeling before him. You Dragon Clan sure have guts. You even dared to touch someone close to my mistress. Initially, I only wanted to punish you, but from the looks of it, this time even this ancestor can't help you. In reality, Little Worm had never intended to plead on Long-Yin's behalf. Who asked this bastard to capture mistress's friend and even want to hurt mistress? He was just trying to show his magnanimity, so he deliberately said those words. However, his voice made the green-robed man's body tremble uncontrollably. This Little Worm. Wasn't this the elder ancestor that His Majesty had asked them to find? But what did his words mean? Mistress? Long-Yin frowned slightly. This time, I've been tricked by that woman from the Panther clan. If he could survive this time, he would definitely not let that despicable woman off. She had even caused him to lose Hong Luan. Like a bolt from the blue, the green-robed man's entire body instantly stiffened. Before he could even beg for mercy, he heard the Dragon King coldly issue an order from above. Men, drag him away for this king. Flay his skin and pull out his tendons. Haha. Suddenly, Nangong Yuni laughed maniacally. That laughter was very sinister. Flay his skin and pull out his tendons? How can this bit of pain compare to losing so many of my brothers? Nangong Yuni gnashed his teeth in hatred. If I don't cut off his flesh piece by piece, it will be hard to dispel the heartache and hatred I feel. So many of his brothers who had gone through fire and water with him had their souls scattered under the claws of this evil dragon. How could he tolerate this? Yun Luofeng looked at Nangong Yuni silently. She took out a porcelain bottle from her space ring and handed it to him. After you've cut off his flesh, sprinkle this medicinal powder on it. In a few days his injuries will recover. You can torture him for as long as you want, until your anger subsides. Nangong Yuni grasped the porcelain bottle that Yun Luofeng handed over. Good brother. In this world, only Yun Luofeng understood him the most, and only Yun Luofeng would give him the most useful things when he needed them. Yun Zhao's cold and callous eyes swept over Nangong Yuni's hand. Without leaving a trace, she grasped Yun Luofeng's hand in her palm, and gently brushed it over the palm that Nangong Yuni's fingertips had just brushed past. Perhaps it was out of sympathy, but Hong Luan didn't shout at Nangong Yuni to kill him. Instead she sighed softly. Actually, I can understand his feelings. If the brothers who have gone through fire and water with me were all annihilated, then I would even have the heart to exterminate his ancestors. After all, Nangong Yuni was still rather rational. He did not vent his anger on the other dragons. This dragon from your dragon clan injured my people. From now on, whether he lives or dies, you are not allowed to interfere. Yun Luofeng glanced at the Dragon King and said coldly. Now that Yun Luofeng had spoken, would the Dragon King dare to say no? Didn't he see that his ancestor was glaring at him? Since he made a mistake first, then he will be at Miss Yun's disposal. All right. Yun Luofeng walked to Nangong Yuni's side and gently patted his shoulder. Nangong, you can take revenge however you want. However, don't be too sad. In this world, as long as the body is dead and the soul is not extinguished, there will be a chance to meet again. This was not China. In China, if one's loved ones passed away, they would never be able to meet again. But here, as long as one's soul still existed, there would be a chance to meet again. If fate willed it, they would naturally meet again. Thank you. Nangong Yuni's voice was a little hoarse as he spoke dryly. He knew that Yun Luofeng was comforting him. Even so, it was still unable to dispel the pain in his heart. Yun Luofeng didn't say anything more. Instead, he turned his gaze towards the culprit, Long Yin. This dragon, how are you going to deal with it? Chapter 1624. Damned brat. You owe me, so give this dragon to me. Hong Luan gently narrowed her eyes as a cold light flashed across her phoenix-like eyes. Hong Luan, I did all that to save you. Long Yin instinctively took 2 steps back as he hurriedly tried to explain himself. Hong Luan laughed icily. To save me? Have you forgotten who was the one who had caused me to end up like this? Long Yin suddenly fell silent. After a long while, he finally found his voice and said weakly, I love you too much and want you to bear me a son. That's why I. Love me? Could it be that I have to marry you just because you love me? Hong Luan raised her chin and spoke in an overbearing manner. Even if I, Hong Luan, would never marry someone like you. You keep saying that you love me, but you've taken me by force? Do I have to obey your wishes and bear you a child? Have you ever asked if I'm willing? Long Yin's face turned increasingly pale as he stared at the peerlessly beautiful face in despair and sorrow. Hong Luan, I thought that you would be very willing to bear my child. The Dragon Clan has always been noble and powerful. Many people have wanted to marry him but failed. Hence, he believed that Hong Luan was willing but was too shy to express it. Hong Luan must have hated him because of the ice frost fruit. If he had not taken advantage of her and fed her the ice frost fruit, perhaps Hong Luan would happily become his bride. Of course, all of this was Long Yin's presumption. Your Imperial Majesty. Just then a Dragon Clan guard hurriedly ran over and spoke in a respectful manner. 2 humans have come to provoke the Dragon Clan. Who is so audacious as to provoke the Dragon Clan? The Dragon King did not ask for the reason as he slammed the table and rose to his feet angrily. He then flicked his sleeves and walked forward. Before the guard could finish his sentence, he was interrupted by the Dragon King. After all, the great ancestor had returned to the Dragon Clan. Even if the Phoenix Clan were to attack, there was no need for him to fear. Your Imperial Majesty, those are 2 humans. They had even captured the Leopard Clan's princess and said that the Dragon Clan had injured their people. What? Humans again? And he was also here to look for someone? The Dragon King's anger immediately disappeared, and he timidly looked at Yun Luofeng and Yun Xiao. Could it be that those 2 humans were related to them? Seeing that Yun Luofeng and Yun Xiao did not say anything, the Dragon King coughed awkwardly. Let them in first. I want to know if there is any misunderstanding. As for the word provocation that the guard had said, he had completely ignored it. Yes, Your Majesty. The dragon guard retreated. After a while, a man and a woman walked in under the lead of a guard. The man looked extremely seductive, like a fox spirit that had transformed into a human. His eyes were filled with craftiness. The other girl was dressed in a yellow dress, and she was carrying a struggling woman in her hands. When her gaze fell on Yun Luofeng and Yun Xiao, she was instantly stunned. Miss Yu, why are you here? The Dragon King was stunned on the spot. He had guessed correctly. Did these people really know Yun Luofeng? Moreover, they were Yun Luofeng's guards and maids? Fortunately, he did not impulsively make an irreversible mistake. Hong Luan. The moment Hu Li saw Hong Luan, he was delighted. I did not expect to see you in the Dragon Clan. Could it be that you have been in the Dragon Clan all this time? Chapter 1625. Yun Luofeng looked at Hu Li strangely. Didn't you say you were looking for someone here? Why, you're not looking for Hong Luan? Hearing that, Huang Yingying frowned slightly. She tossed the Leopard Clan's princess onto the ground and said coldly, Miss, this woman claims that the Dragon Clan killed Princess Ili. We're here to confront her. Ili? In an instant, everyone's eyes were focused on the green-robed man. I told you to go to the Beast City to deal with Yun Luofeng. Why did you kill the Leopard Princess? Long Yin was furious. This incompetent bastard. It was all thanks to him that he had ended up like this. Lord Long Yin, the green-robed man knelt on the ground. I really didn't kill the Leopard Princess. Why would I kill her? A dying man's words were always kind. At a time like this, the green-robed man would not lie. The eldest princess's face was extremely pale. Her body was on the verge of collapsing from the long journey, so her voice sounded weak at the moment. I didn't say anything like that. They're framing me. Lord Longyin, you must believe me. I'm completely sincere to you. Why would I frame the Dragon Clan? Yun Luofeng smiled. Her smile was very evil, and her pitch-black eyes seemed to be able to see through people's hearts. You really don't want to frame the Dragon Clan, but you don't have the guts. The princess snorted. She did not understand why Yun Luofeng was here. However, based on her words, she was just flattering the Dragon Clan. Unfortunately, the Dragon Clan would definitely believe beasts and would not easily believe humans. But you can borrow the Dragon Clan's hands to kill Hu Li and Huang Yingying, right? Yun Luofeng's lips curled into a smile as he asked in an evil voice. The princess's face turned even paler. Yun Luofeng, don't even think about framing me. Do you think the Dragon Clan believes you or me? At this time, the princess still did not understand the situation, and did not know what had happened to the Dragon Clan. She only knew that her identity as a spiritual beast was her guarantee. I don't care if you admit it or deny it. At the very least, you had the intention to kill the people around me. Based on this alone, I cannot tolerate you. Yun Luofeng raised his hand, and with a boom, a force landed on the eldest princess's chest, causing her body to be slammed into the wall. He couldn't stop spurting blood from his mouth. Yun Luofeng, how dare you attack me in the Dragon Clan? The eldest princess gritted her teeth and turned to Longyin. Lord Longyin, this woman is challenging the authority of the Dragon Clan. She should be tied up and dismembered. The green-robed man seemed to recall something. He suddenly knelt on the ground and cried out, Lord Longyin, it was this woman who told me that Yun Luofeng was in the Wind-Chasing Alliance. Otherwise, I wouldn't have destroyed the Wind-Chasing Alliance at a time like this. In an instant, several murderous gazes were cast on the first princess. Nangong Yuni's fists were clenched so tightly that cracking sounds could be heard. His teeth were tightly clenched. He couldn't control his own strength and it instantly leaked out. But the dragon roar was one step faster than him and arrived in front of the first princess. A fist filled with watercolored spiritual power slammed towards the first princess. It's all your fault. If you hadn't told me that there was a fire spirit fruit in Yun Luofeng's body, I wouldn't have chased after him. If you hadn't lured my subordinates to the Wind-Chasing Alliance, we wouldn't have committed such a grave mistake. You've caused me so much trouble. I'll definitely drag you down to hell. Chapter 1626. Long Yin's attacks were ferocious and rained down one after another as if they were free. The eldest princess was completely dumbfounded and didn't understand what was going on. Lord Longyin, you. Without waiting for her to finish, Longyin burst into laughter. As he laughed, tears flowed out of his eyes. Do you know that because of you, I'm about to lose my life? His voice was like a sudden clap of thunder that sent the eldest princess into a state of confusion. What did he mean by Lord Longyin's life was about to be lost? Damned woman, do you know who you're dealing with? She's the matriarch of our Dragon Clan's ancestor. You want me to kill her? Isn't that the same as pushing me to my death? Longyin clenched his teeth so hard that they creaked. He wanted nothing more than to tear this woman into 1,000 pieces. No, even if he tore her into 1,000 pieces, it wouldn't quell the anger in his heart. Rumble. The eldest princess was completely dumbfounded. Yun Luofeng was the matriarch of the Dragon Clan's ancestor. This was the only sentence that kept echoing in her mind. She couldn't think of anything else. After a long while, her body began to tremble and her face was drained of blood. Only now did she realize how big of a mistake she had made. What's funny is that I actually foolishly believed you. Dragon Roar was in great pain. His fist once again smashed towards the eldest princess, causing the wall behind her to collapse. In an instant, the eldest princess's body was buried. Wait! Hu Li hurriedly shouted. She can't die now. I want to know where Li went. In the Beast City, he had been completely muddled and actually believed the eldest princess's nonsense. And now what he wanted to know the most was Li's whereabouts. A cold laugh came from the ruins. The eldest princess could no longer move, and only her eyes were exposed. Her eyes were filled with indignation and anger. Back then I was the one who discovered you first. Why did you choose Li? The eldest princess didn't like Hu Li, but her pride had always brooded over this matter. Back then, her appearance was so many times better than Yili's, so why did Hu Li choose Yili? She didn't even have the chance to take it by force. Even though Yili's appearance has been ruined, her heart has not been ruined. She is very kind, unlike you. She would never force others to do something they don't want to do. Moreover, my marriage with her was only a pretense. My goal was to prevent you from lusting after me. However, unknowingly, his gaze had long since been attracted by the strong and patient girl. So what if she was disfigured? Appearance was never what he cared about. The first princess smiled disdainfully. You want to know where Yili is, but I won't tell you. Even if I die, I won't let you find her. After saying this, the first princess stretched her arm out of the ruins and slapped it hard on her head. Before her hand could fall, a black sword light flashed, and in an instant her entire arm was cut off. Ah! The intense pain caused the eldest princess to let out a heart-wrenching cry. Due to the excessive blood loss, she almost fainted. Yun Xiao silently retracted her hand and stood quietly by Yun Luofeng's side. It was as if the person who had just cruelly attacked was not her. Even though you didn't kill the members of the Wind-Chasing Alliance, their deaths have nothing to do with you. Yun Luofeng's evil eyes swept across her. If I had known that you had the intention to kill us that day, I would never have spared you. So to you now, death is an extravagant hope. Chapter 1627. When Yun Luofeng had finished speaking, he turned towards Nangong Yuni, his jet-black eyes staring straight at the handsome man in front of him. Nangong, she can be considered the culprit behind this incident, so I'll leave her to you to deal with. Nangong Yuni's throat was choking up. Yun Luofeng, this wind-chasing alliance was established for your sake. I never thought that it would be destroyed in one day. He was heartbroken over the deaths of his siblings. At the same time, he was heartbroken that the gift he had given to Yun Luofeng had been destroyed just like that. No. Don't. The eldest princess shook her head. Her hand clutched the painful stump of her broken arm tightly, allowing the blood to flow down her fingertips. Her hoarse voice was trembling and her eyes were filled with terror. Nangong Yuni's gaze fell upon the eldest princess. With a loud bang, a strong rage burned within him like a raging flame, making one feel as if their entire body was being scorched by it. You're the one who caused the death of my brother. He would definitely make her beg for death but be unable to do so. Hu Li. The eldest princess suddenly turned towards Hu Li and pleaded in a pleading voice. Don't you want to know where Yili is? Please let me go. As long as you let me go, I'll tell you where she is. Hu Li swept his gaze towards the eldest princess and smiled disdainfully. It's enough for me to know that she's still alive. As for where she is, I'll find it myself. I don't need your help. Bang! The eldest princess struggled to stand up, but was once again defeated by Hu Li's words. She suddenly fell to the ground, and her ashen face was filled with despair. She knew that this time, she would not be able to escape this calamity. Yun Luofeng, I'll take these two fellows and leave first. Nangong Yuni smiled sinisterly. I'll also make them understand the consequences of killing my people. Don't judge Nangong Yuni just because he had not interacted with those people for long. In reality, he had long developed a deep bond with them. Otherwise, he would not have been so furious. Yun Luofeng was aware of the rage in his heart. That was why he had handed these two over to him to deal with. Great Ancestor. The Dragon King smiled sheepishly at Little Worm. Are you satisfied now? Little Worm raised its chin proudly. Since my mistress is satisfied, I'm naturally very satisfied as well. In other words, the only one who could make decisions here was Yun Luofeng. Even Yun Xiao had to give in to her. This was also a pattern that the Little Worm had figured out after spending so many days together. His master was a henpecked man. No matter what Yun Luofeng said, he would not refuse. As long as Yun Luofeng was satisfied, he would be satisfied. Furthermore, Little Worm was a naturally protective person. Between the Dragon Clan and the Yun Xiao couple, he would definitely choose the Yun Xiao couple. Although he was the ancestor of the Dragon Clan, he had left for so many years and didn't want to return. It could be imagined that he didn't have much affection for the Dragon Clan. Otherwise, he wouldn't have tricked the Dragon Clan back then. Miss Yun. The Dragon King turned to Yun Luofeng with a smile. Does Miss Yun have any other requests for the Dragon Clan? Yun Luofeng shook his head. I'm only here to find someone. Since that's the case. The Dragon Clan paused for a moment and said with a grin, I wonder if Miss Yun would be willing to join forces with the Dragon Clan to fight against the Phoenix Clan? All these years, the Phoenix Clan has become more and more powerful, and is now standing shoulder to shoulder with the Dragon Clan. Now that the Great Ancestor has returned, how can we allow the Phoenix Clan to stand at the top of the Beast Continent? Chapter 1628. When Little Worm heard this, he glanced strangely at the excited Dragon King. He could not bear to do this, but he still said, Are you dreaming? The Phoenix Clan has already pledged allegiance to my master. What right do you have to ask my master to help you attack the Phoenix Clan? The Dragon King's smile disappeared abruptly. His expression was one of shock as he met the Little Worm's disdainful gaze in astonishment. You said the Phoenix Clan has pledged allegiance to your master? Little Worm scoffed. If you want to attack the Phoenix Clan, you can do it yourself. We won't interfere. After saying this, Little Worm wriggled his body and slowly crawled towards Yun Xiao. Yun Xiao casually picked up Little Worm's body and turned to look at Yun Luofeng. His expression softened. Let's go. They had come here to find Hong Luan. Since Hong Luan had been found, there was no need to stay. Ancestor. The Dragon King paled in shock and knelt down in front of Little Worm. When the other members of the Dragon Clan saw this, they also knelt down in a row. Ancestor, you can't leave. If you leave, what will happen to us? He wept bitterly and said, The Dragon Clan had searched for so many years before they found their ancestor. If they let him leave now, who knew when they would be able to see him again? Yun Zhao's cold gaze swept across the Dragon King's pleading face and his cold voice slowly rang out. He is my pet, he can only go with me. The Dragon King's eyes flickered. Lord Yun Xiao, we are willing to follow your orders. We only hope that you can stay. Once Yun Xiao stayed, their ancestor would not leave. But, was it possible for Yun Xiao to stay? I will come back when I need you. In other words, he would only return to this place when he needed to go to the Dragon Clan. After saying this, he wrapped his arm around Yun Luofeng's waist and leaped into the distance. The Dragon King turned pale with fright and wanted to stop Yun Xiao. However, before he could even touch the corner of the other party's robe, that grim black robe had already disappeared before his eyes. Nangong Yuni hesitantly looked at Hong Luan. After muttering to himself for a while, he said, Back then I felt very guilty about peeping on you. I will take responsibility for it. However, I still have matters to take care of, so... Whether it was Long Yin's subordinate or the Leopard Clan's eldest princess, he would not let a single one of them go. Hong Luan glared at Nangong Yuni. When did I say I wanted you to take responsibility? Not to mention you destroyed my spirit spring. Do you think your guilt can erase my loss? Nangong Yuni, I'm telling you, keep dreaming. She smiled coldly and continued. However, seeing that you still want to take revenge, I'll let you go first. When you're done with your business, I'll slowly settle the score with you. In reality, Nangong Yuni had long seen that this woman had a sharp tongue but a soft heart. So he wasn't as fearful of her as before. All right. Nangong Yuni's lips curled into a smile. When I'm done with my revenge, you can do whatever you want to me. This time I won't run away again. She didn't know why, but when she heard Nangong Yuni's last sentence, Hong Luan's heart suddenly skipped a beat. When she raised her eyes and met the man's resolute eyes, she actually felt a trace of uneasiness. Even she herself didn't know what this sudden feeling was. Long Yin saw the subtle atmosphere between the two and his expression became increasingly unsightly. His eyes stared fixedly at Nangong Yuni. Chapter 1629. That look, it was as if she wanted to tear this man into pieces. Hong Luan also noticed Long Yin's gaze. Her domineering eyes glanced at him and the corners of her lips curled. Long Yin, I've said this before, if you dare touch me, when you fall into my hands, I will make you wish you were dead. The woman's words echoed in his ears. The funny thing was, he had never cared about these words. As a strong cultivator of the Dragon Clan, how many women could resist him? But he never thought that he would fail at the last moment. Hong Luan, I don't care how you want to take revenge on me. It is my honor to die in your hands. Even at this time, Long Yin was still pretending to be affectionate, hoping that Hong Luan would let him go on account of his infatuation. Hong Wan smiled. She gently stroked her chin and nodded. Don't you like giving birth? Then I will marry you to the princess of the spiritual pig clan. I heard that she is looking for a husband. The beast clan were all extraordinarily beautiful. There was only one exception, and that was the spiritual pig clan. This clan was known for their ugliness. But unfortunately, the spiritual pig clan was very barbaric. Any beauty that fell into their hands would end up miserable. Hence, after hearing Hong Wan's words, Long Yin's face was already ashen and filled with despair. Hu Li, Miss and the others have already left. Huang Yingying turned to look at Hu Li and frowned. I didn't find Wu and even lost Yi Li. So, I want to stay in the beast continent for the time being. Hu Li shook his head and said calmly. Alright, then after you find them, come find Miss and Master. Huang Yingying did not say anything else. She got up and chased after Yun Luofeng and Yun Xiao. But with her speed, how could she catch up with Yun Xiao? Fortunately, when she reached the foot of the mountain, Huang Yingying found Yun Luofeng waiting for her. Miss, Huang Yingying quickly walked to Yun Luofeng's side. Hu Li I know. Yun Luofeng curled his lips devilishly. If Hu Li can't find Yi Li, he will not leave the beast continent. If Yun Zhao's whereabouts were unknown in the beast continent, she would not leave alone. Hence, she understood Hu Li's choice. From the beginning, she knew that Hu Li would not leave with her this time. Huang Yingying, let's leave the beast continent now. We've been out for so long this time. I should bring Yun Xiao back to the Jun family. Jun family? Yun Zhao's eyes were filled with suspicion as he looked at Yun Luofeng in confusion. Seeing the man's gaze, Yun Luofeng was startled. She seemed to have forgotten that Yun Xiao was still unaware of the existence of the Jun family when he entered the hidden divine mountain to search for her whereabouts. Yun Xiao. Yun Luofeng fell silent. After a long while, she finally looked at the callous man in front of her. When you went to the hidden god mountain, a few things happened on the continent. One of them was related to the Jun family. Yun Xiao quietly waited for Yun Luofeng's next words. Yun Luofeng took a deep breath. That old man of the Jun family is my mother's father from my previous life. In other words, he is your biological grandfather. Oh. Yun Zhao's expression was very calm and her voice was concise. Just like when he first saw Jun Fengling, he wasn't too excited. Even though he had been looking for his mother for many years. In reality, Yun Luofeng understood Yun Zhao's character. This man had never been good at expressing his feelings. He longed for family, but he would never show it. He would only hide his deepest feelings in his heart. However, such a man would always show his love and loyalty to her in front of her. Chapter 1630. Yun Xiao, you don't want to see your grandfather? Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows and asked. I don't know any Jun family. Yun Xiao pondered for a moment, then continued. If you like them, then they are my family. If you don't like them, then they can only be my enemies. The implication was that the person you like is the person I will protect with my entire life. The person you don't love, then I will use all my strength to eradicate them. Yun Luofeng's heart suddenly jolted. She raised her head to look at the man's determined and affectionate black eyes, and the corners of her lips curled up slightly. This man had told her before. For her, he would rather slaughter the entire world, even if the other party was his family. So when the Xiao family made things difficult for her, he chose to reveal his strength without hesitation, to protect her dignity. How could such a man not be worthy of her sincerity? Yun Xiao. Yun Luofeng stepped forward, gently embraced Yun Zhao's body, and pressed his thin lips against the man's warm lips. Two lips pressed together. A wave of heat surged through her body. It was incomparably comfortable. Seeing these two people act as if there was no one else around, Huang Yingying was a little dumbfounded. She hurriedly covered her eyes, not looking at these two intimate people. Yun Xiao, after seeing the Jun family, I want to return to the Wuhui continent. Yun Luofeng was silent for a moment, then said, I should bring mother to see grandfather. Grandfather Jun had missed Jun Fengling for so long, she naturally brought her here. Besides, we've left the Wuhui continent for nearly 5 years. In 5 years we haven't seen our family, we really need to go back and see. Okay. Yun Xiao would never refuse Yun Luofeng's request. Wherever she wanted to go, he would accompany her to the ends of the earth, and never leave her side. What about you? Yun Luofeng turned to Huang Yingying. Can you come back with us? Huang Yingying's body trembled and she gently lowered her eyes full of pain. Logically speaking, I need to go back and visit my family's graves. But as soon as I return to the Huang family, I will remember the scene from back then. The death of her loved ones was an eternal pain in her heart. How could she be willing to recall all of this? If you are not going back, then wait for us here. Yun Luofeng shrugged his shoulders and did not force Huang Yingying. His demonic face lit up with a languid smile. Yun Xiao, let's go. I hope to leave the Beast Continent before tomorrow. Yun Luofeng and the rest had been in the Beast Continent for quite some time. During this period of time, the 7 continents underwent earth-shattering changes. First, the Jun family's old man went missing. Ever since Yun Luofeng disappeared from the hidden Divine Mountain, the old man had rushed into the hidden Divine Mountain out of impulse and disappeared without a trace. He never came out again and no one knew whether he was dead or alive. Following that, 2 young masters of the North Continent's Continent Lord Mansion were killed by Yun Luofeng, one dead and the other injured. The consequences were irreversible, causing the North Continent's Continent Lord to fly into a rage. He had wanted to settle the score with Yun Luofeng, but Yun Luofeng had already left for the Beast Continent. Because of this, the people of the North Continent found out about Yun Luofeng's identity, and even sent people to the Wuhui continent to cause trouble for her family. After hearing about this, the Jun family, the West Continent Academy, and the East Continent's Continent Lord Mansion, who were related to Yun Luofeng, all sent people to stop him. Unfortunately, the West Continent Academy had a sudden situation, and they could not even fend for themselves. As for the masters sent by the Jun family and the East Continent Lord Mansion to stop him, they were all killed by the Sacred Maiden tribe. This matter had already caused a huge uproar on the continent. Chapter 1631. The North Continent. In the Continent Lord's residence, a woman in a white dress with a frosty expression was sitting at the head of the table. Her fingers gently stroked the rim of the teacup as her cold eyes swept across the people below. Standing below her was a middle-aged man. This middle-aged man was not as domineering as he used to be. His face was full of flattery. Lady Qin Shui, although the people of the Jun family and the East Continent Lord's residents were all killed by you, the people I sent to the Wuhui continent to kill Yun Luofeng's family were also killed by those people. What do you think? Qin Shui raised her eyebrows slightly, and a cold smile appeared on her frosty face. Her smile was bone-chilling, like the cold winter, without any warmth. Yun Luofeng killed my sister, so her family must die. Back then, the people of the Xianqing sect came to inform the Sacred Maiden tribe that the successor they had been looking for was in Yun Luofeng's hands. Therefore, her younger sister, Qin Yu, volunteered to kill Yun Luofeng. But who knew that Qin Yu would die at the hands of Yun Luofeng? The Sacred Maiden tribe had gone through a lot of trouble to find out this information. Thinking of her sister's tragic death, Qin Yu's eyes flashed coldly, and her murderous intent was as cold as a sword. So, I will send the Sacred Maiden tribe to the Wuhui continent. Qin Shui said coldly, and what you need to do is to rope in the other continents. This. The North Continent Lord hesitated for a moment. I'm afraid this matter is very difficult. The daughter of the East Continent Lord, Hong Luan, has a close relationship with Yun Luofeng. After the Jun family helped Yun Luofeng in this matter, I went to inquire about the relationship between Yun Luofeng and the Jun family. I learned that Grandpa Jun is Yun Luofeng's husband's maternal grandfather. As for the West Continent with Ji Zhouqian, I'm afraid it will be impossible to rope him in. The former lord of the Central Continent is also on good terms with Grandpa Jun. So, only the South Continent we can rope them in. Qin Shui smiled contemptuously, not moved by the words of the North Continent Lord. Ji Zhouqian of the West Continent seems to have encountered some problems recently, so he can't stop things from developing. Without Ji Zhouqian, the West Continent Academy is not that scary. As for the other places, you just need to find them, and I will have a way to make them listen to my orders. The North Continent's Continent Lord looked surprised. What did Qin Shui mean? Lady Qin Shui, you mean? The North Continent's Continent Lord's voice was cautious, but he could not stop his heart from trembling. Suddenly, Qin Shui's cold eyes swept over, causing the North Continent's Continent Lord to swallow the words that were at the tip of her tongue. She looked at her in fear. Inside the city it was unexpectedly quiet. Yun Luofeng and Yun Xiao stepped out of the city gates and were stopped by two guards. Stop! Just as the guard opened his mouth to berate, Yun Xiao's cold gaze shot towards him. Poochie! In that instant, the guard spat out a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground in a sorry state. Huang Yingying, let's part ways here. Return to the witch race and wait for me. Yun Luofeng turned to look at Huang Yingying. There was a hint of a smile in his dark eyes. All right. Huang Yingying nodded slightly. Take care. Yun Xiao, let's go. Yun Luofeng looked away and did not spare Huang Yingying another glance. His gaze fell upon the man's cold and handsome face. The man raised his hand to hold her waist. With a leap, he rushed into the sky and quickly disappeared from Huang Yingying's line of sight. This was because Yun Luofeng and Yun Xiao had been hurrying along in the sky and had not stopped for even a moment. Furthermore, based on their current level of power, even if they did not eat or drink, they would not exhaust any of their energy. Chapter 1632. The Jun Family. Ever since Yun Luofeng had met with danger, Jun Linger had gone out to search for her whereabouts. In the end, she had been captured and brought back by the Jun family not long after. They had locked her up tightly, not giving her any chance to leave. But unexpectedly, before Yun Luofeng could be found, the old man had also disappeared. So when Yun Luofeng appeared at the gate of the Jun family, the guard could not believe his eyes. He hurriedly rubbed his eyes and stared at the woman in white who had appeared out of thin air. He almost screamed out loud. After a long time, he finally found his voice and quickly rushed into the inner courtyard of the Jun family. Master, Miss Yun is back. Miss Yun? Yun Luofeng? Jun Linger, who had been sitting in the courtyard fretting, immediately stood up when she heard the shouts of the guards. Her lively and adorable eyes were filled with an excited light. After a while, a snow-white color floated into her eyes. At that moment her throat was a little choked, and her eyes were filled with tears. Sister Yun, you're back, but my grandfather went to the hidden divine mountain to look for you, and his whereabouts are still unknown. Jun Linger bit her lip and looked at Yun Luofeng pitifully. There were still traces of tears in the corners of her eyes, making her look very pitiful. At that moment the Jun family's master Jun Xian also quickly walked out. He quickly walked in front of Yun Luofeng and raised his hand, wanting to pat her shoulder, but in the end, he weakly put it down. It's good that you're safe and sound. Everyone knew how much Grandpa Jun loved Yun Luofeng. The Jun family could only settle down if she was safe and sound. The old man is missing? Yun Luofeng frowned slightly. Yes, he went to the hidden divine mountain to look for you, but he never returned. He also sent the experts of the Jun family to look for him, but none of them came back. In fact, Jun Xian had wanted to look for his master several times. However, the Jun family could not be left without a leader, so he could only stay. But Jun Xian paused. Did you kill Ling Chan from the northern continent and even cripple Ling Shuang? Yun Luofeng raised an eyebrow. Yes. Hearing this, Jun Xian smiled bitterly and shook his head. I'm afraid you've caused trouble this time. The North Continent and the Sacred Maiden tribe have joined forces. They even sent people to the Wuhui continent to cause trouble for your relatives. Although those people have been eliminated by us in the East continent, they will continue to send people. Yun Luofeng's face sank little by little. It seems that I need to go back to the Wuhui continent as soon as possible to bring Grandpa and the others here. However, thinking about Grandpa Jun's whereabouts, she couldn't help but feel uneasy. Could it be that Grandpa Jun encountered some danger when he ventured deep into the Hidden God Mountain? I will go to the Hidden God Mountain. Yun Xiao muttered to himself for a moment before replying. Yun Luofeng thought about it. This was the only way. With Yun Xiao's current strength, no matter how great the difficulty he faced, escaping was absolutely not a problem. As for her, she had to go to the non-return continent. Perhaps those people in the northern continent would send people to the non-return continent to kill her relatives. Feng, this is. Jun Xian looked suspiciously at Yun Xiao and asked curiously. My husband, Yun Xiao. Yun Luofeng gently raised his lips, and his voice sounded very slowly in the courtyard. Jun Xian's body shook. He stared at Yun Xiao, trying to engrave his appearance in his mind. You are the Ghost Emperor? My master's grandson? Chapter 1633. Yun Xiao nodded expressionlessly. His expression was just as cold as ever. There's no time to lose, let's split up now. Yun Luofeng turned around and gently hugged Yun Xiao. Once you've found Grandfather Jun and I've brought Grandfather and the others here, we'll meet up at the Jun family home. Yun Xiao gently stroked Yun Luofeng's hair. The corners of his cold lips gradually curled into a faint smile. He lowered his head and planted a kiss on her forehead. Be careful. Jun Xian's lips moved slightly. His gaze fell on Yun Xiao somewhat reluctantly. However, he also understood that he could not let Yun Xiao stay at a time like this, because they had more important things to do. Fenger, our Jun family also has a wormhole. You can use the Jun family's wormhole to head to the Limitless Continent. The Limitless Continent. In a small town not far from Endless City, a group of people were hurrying on their way. However, at this moment, their path was suddenly blocked by two small figures. Excuse me. How do I get to Endless City? The leader of the group was a man dressed in embroidered robes. He raised his head in surprise, his gaze falling on the two little girls in front of him. These two little girls were still very young, only 4 or 5 years old. Their large watery eyes were very cute, and from their attire, one could tell that these two little girls were definitely from a large family. However, usually the daughters of large families would have followers. Why were there no one following behind these two? Little sisters, why are you here alone? Where are your parents? The young man lowered his head very patiently and asked with a smile. Big brother, my name is Yun Ruoshui. This is my older sister, Jun. We left home without telling our parents. Can you tell us which direction to go to Endless City? An innocent smile hung on the face of the slightly younger girl. Her face was as delicate as a porcelain doll. It was undeniable that when she grew up, she would definitely be a great beauty whose beauty could cause the downfall of cities and countries. As for the little girl she called Yi Jun. At such a young age, her red dress accentuated her extraordinary beauty. Compared to Yun Ruoshui's delicate and adorable appearance, she was rather valiant and formidable, and her brows carried a sword-like heroic spirit. Endless City is a rather chaotic place. Why are you going there? The one who spoke was the woman beside the man in embroidered robes. This woman had a charming air about her. Her eyebrows and eyes were rippling, and her eyes were filled with cunning. She looked at the two young ladies with a glint in her eyes. My sister and I want to go to the medicine tower of Endless City to find my cousin. My father told me that my cousin is very powerful. Yi Jun's expression changed slightly. He hurriedly pulled on Yun Ruoshui's sleeve and shook his head, stopping Yun Luofeng from continuing. Soon after, she raised her palm-sized face and said in an old-fashioned manner, You just need to tell us how to get to Endless City. You don't need to know what we're going there for. Grandpa had said that the world was dangerous, and she couldn't trust any stranger. Besides, even if she said that the Medicine Tower's tower master was her sister-in-law, these people wouldn't believe her. However, if they wanted to go to the 7 continents to find their second brother and second sister-in-law, they had to go to the Medicine Tower. The people there would help them think of a way. The charming woman's expression was slightly unhappy. Her eyes flickered and her lips curled into a sly smile. Chapter 1634. Little girl, how about this? We're going to Endless City as well. Why don't we bring you along? Yun Ruoshui was stunned. A look of suspicion flashed across her delicate little face. She only wanted to ask for directions. Wasn't this big sister too eager? Yi Jun tugged on Yun Ruoshui's sleeve instinctively. The two of them took 2 steps back and maintained a distance from the group of people in front of them. No need. We can go ask the others. Or let's go. She grabbed Yun Ruoshui's little hand and walked around the charming woman, wanting to walk forward. The woman and the brocade-robed young man glanced at each other and blocked their way, one on the left and one on the right. Little girl, this world is dangerous. It's too dangerous for you to go to Endless City alone. We'll be good people and send you on your way. These 2 girls were still young, but they were so devastatingly beautiful. They could definitely be sold for a good price. Yi Jun's little face darkened. There was a hint of wariness in her eyes. What are you trying to do? Don't think that you can kidnap and sell us just because we're young. I won't fall for your trick. The charming woman's expression changed. The sinister smile on her face became extremely cold. Her eyes were filled with greed. Haha. I just want to tell you that children who run away from home are destined to be captured, so that you can grow some brains. Men, tie these two girls up. Then we'll auction them off for a good price with a rich man. Yun Ruoshui timidly hid behind Yijun. Her large, frightened eyes were filled with tears. She gently bit her small pink lips, and her terrified expression was especially pitiful. Shui-er, I'll protect you. She was 1 year older than Yun Ruoshui. As the older sister, she should protect her younger sister. Miss Rui, the young man we tricked a while ago, is also quite good-looking. His age is similar to little sister Yijun's. If we auction all three of them, we'll definitely be able to get a good price. Young man? Yijun was stunned. A glint flashed across her eyes. Brother had secretly left the Yi family a few days ago. He planned to look for father, mother, second brother and sister-in-law. Did they run away after brother? Could it be that big brother was also captured by these bad guys? Sister June. Yun Ruoshui held back her tears and pouted. We can't fall into the hands of these people, otherwise I'm afraid. Yijun patted Yun Ruoshui's hand comfortingly as a cold light flashed across her eyes. She lowered her head and whispered to Yun Ruoshui. Sure. I suspect that they've captured my brother. Brother little Xie? Yun Ruoshui's eyes widened in shock, her pink face filled with astonishment. Are you saying that big brother little Xie has fallen into their hands? I'm just guessing, so. Yijun did not finish his sentence. Yun Ruoshui had already understood what she meant. Little sister, do you choose to leave with me, or do you want me to kidnap you? Rui sneered and slowly asked. Yijun squeezed Yun Ruoshui's hand once more, trying to calm her down. Then she raised her head. Her eyes were full of heroic spirit, resembling Jun Fengling's valiant and heroic bearing. I'll leave with you. However, let me give you a piece of advice. You'd better not touch my sister. Otherwise, you won't be able to bear the consequences. Rui Yi's smile was no longer as cold as before. At least you're sensible. Men, bring these two girls away. Chapter 1635. Little did they know that Yun Ruoshui and Yijun's departure had caused a huge commotion in the Wuhui continent. There was no other reason but because Yun Ruoshui and Yijun were both from the Yi family. What kind of existence was the Yi family? The number one family in the country of Wind Cloud. First, the two monstrous geniuses, Yun Luofeng and Yun Xiao, appeared. Then Yixie appeared out of nowhere. Not only did he have an incomparably noble status, but he was also the number one genius of the Yi clan. He was deeply loved by Old Man Yi. Even though Yijun's talent was not as good as Yixie's, his mature and steady personality had long been entrusted to him by Old Master Yi. As for Yun Ruoshui, she was not a child of the Yi family, but she was Yun Luofeng's cousin. She was lively and adorable. Everyone in the Yi family liked her. So the departure of the three almost caused Old Master Yi to relapse. It caused a huge commotion in the continent. At this moment, Yun Luofeng slowly descended from the sky above the mountain range. Xiao Mo followed closely behind her. Returning to her homeland, she had a myriad of thoughts running through her mind. I didn't think that the Jun family's teleportation point would be the Endless City. Since I'm passing by, I might as well go back and visit everyone. Yun Luofeng's lips curled. Her evil eyes scanned the area and saw a body lying in the grass. She frowned slightly as she stared at the boy in the pool of blood. Then for some reason she slowly walked towards the little boy. In the grass, the little boy's body was in tatters. His robes were torn and tattered. His pale face was stained with blood. His eyes were closed as he lay peacefully in the grass. Xiao Mo, this little boy is still alive. Yun Luofeng raised her eyebrows. Master, you want to save him? Xiao Mo paused and asked curiously. Yun Luofeng did not speak. She bent down and took out the map that Xiao Mo clutched tightly in her hands. She spread it out and saw a red dot on the map. The direction of the red dot was the medicine tower. His target is the medicine tower. Yun Luofeng pondered for a moment. Since he wants to go to the medicine tower, I must save him. Over the years, the medicine tower had grown stronger with each passing day, and many people had come to seek refuge with it. Even if they harbored ill intentions towards the medicine tower, They could only wait for him to wake up to find out what his goal was. Thinking of this, Yun Luofeng took out a black pill from his sleeve and gently placed it in the little boy's mouth. Then he took out a flask of water and poured it in. Gulp! The pill rolled into the boy's stomach along with the water. Then, the wounds on his body healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. Not long after, the little boy who was lying in the grass slowly opened his eyes. What kind of eyes were those? They were clean without a speck of dust, clear and transparent, as if they had been washed with clean water. In those eyes one could see his own reflection. You saved me. The little boy's voice was very young and tender, like cotton candy. It was soft and comfortable to hear. Yun Luofeng waved the map in his hand. Are you going to the medicine tower? Hearing this, the little boy's eyes shone with vigilance. What are you trying to do? Nothing. I just want to know your name and… Why are you going to the medicine tower? The little boy lowered his head. My name is Yi. Just when he was about to tell them his name, he suddenly remembered his reputation in this land. Therefore he quickly made up a surname and said, My name is Lin Xia. I'm going to the medicine tower to join it. Chapter 1636. Yun Luofeng smiled wickedly. I'm going to the herb tower too, so let's go together. What do you think? No. Yi Xia's delicate face changed slightly. Although you saved me, you can't force me. Yun Luofeng scooped up little Xia's body and completely ignored her struggles as he turned to look at little Mo. We're not far from Endless City. Let's continue. As soon as she finished speaking, she leaped into the air. The wind whistled past Yi Xia's ears and his face paled. He hugged Yun Luofeng tightly with his arms as his lips trembled. You're afraid of heights? Yun Luofeng looked down at Yi Xia's cute face and asked. Yi Xia's face paled even more, but he said stubbornly, Who said I'm afraid of heights? I'm afraid of you guys. He was a prodigy of the Yi family, and he was close to becoming a celestial spirit being. How could he let others know he was afraid of heights? Little Mo, it's too tiring for us to fly all the way here. How about we go down for a walk? Yun Luofeng didn't look at Yi Xia anymore. He turned to Yun Xiao and instructed. Little Mo pursed his lips. How could he not know that Yun Luofeng was doing this for this little boy? However, he didn't stop Yun Luofeng. Instead, he followed her to the ground. Yi Xia felt a sense of relief the moment his feet touched the ground. I wasn't afraid of heights just now. Yi Xia's face was a bit red as he defended himself stubbornly. Fine, it's not that you're afraid of heights. I just don't want my husband to continue flying because I'm afraid he'll be too tired. Yun Luofeng looked at Yi Jun's blushing face with a faint smile. He didn't expose his lie, and his lips curled up with a hint of mockery. Little Mo, if we speed up today, we should be able to reach the herb tower before nightfall. Yi Jun and Yun Ruoshui were thrown into a dark and damp woodshed. The moment they entered the woodshed, Yi Jun hurriedly got up and dashed toward the group of children hiding in the corner. Not Big Brother. These children aren't big brothers. Where's my big brother? Yi Jun's little face was a little anxious. When she saw that these children were not her brothers, she was extremely disappointed. If it wasn't to find her brother, she wouldn't have come to this place with these people. Sister Yi Jun, it seems that Brother Xia is not here. Yun Ruoshui blinked her big cute eyes. Did we make a mistake? Are you looking for someone? In the corner, a tender voice slowly sounded. In that instant, Yi Jun and Yun Ruoshui looked over at the same time. It was a tall young man who looked to be around 8 or 9 years old. His clothes were ragged like a beggar's, but he had an extremely delicate and handsome face, especially his pair of peach blossom eyes, which could captivate one's soul and charm all living things. Who are you? Yi Jun's eyes were full of wariness as he shielded Yun Ruoshui behind him. The young man glanced at them. We met a group that specializes in child trafficking. They will sell us to some pedophiles for their entertainment. The place we are at is just one of their bases. The other bases also have children who have been abducted. Yi Jun's little hand gently touched her chin. Shui-er, I've decided to stay for now. All right, Shui-er will listen to Sister Yi Jun. Ruoshui smiled. Her smile was very bright, and her 2 canine teeth were very cute. Chapter 1637. At the same time, Rui and the rest had gathered in a room and were discussing how to get rid of the children. Miss Rui, that little girl called Yijun is not only beautiful but also talented. With her capital, she'll definitely fetch a good price in an auction. But what if we give her to Chu Lin, the head of the Chu family in Endless City? Endless City had undergone earth-shattering changes in the past few years. The three great families were now a thing of the past. Now, the one in charge of Endless City was the high and mighty medical tower, as well as several other major forces that depended on the medical tower. Chu Lin, the head of the Chu family, has an extraordinary relationship with an elder of the medical tower. In addition, it's said that Chu Lin intends to find a child bride for his son. Apart from having extraordinary looks, the girl must also have decent talent. Yijun could indeed bring them a considerable amount of wealth, but how could wealth compare to building a good relationship with the Chu family? Alright. Then I'll bring Yijun to Chu Lin. Rui's eyes flashed as the corners of her lips curled into an arc. As for that little girl called Yun Ruoshui, I can't sense any spiritual chi fluctuations from her body. From the looks of it, there's only one possibility. That girl is definitely trash. Since she's a good-for-nothing, she has no value. Just sell her to those pedophiles in exchange for a fortune. With a few words, these people had already determined the fate of Yun Ruoshui. And Yijun, little did they know that this decision would bring disaster upon them. Lin Shi, bring that girl Yijun to me. The person called Lin Shi was a delicate-looking youth, but such a youth had followed this group of people to engage in child trafficking. A hand pushed open the door of the damp thatched hut. A delicate-looking youth appeared at the door and looked coldly at the children in the room. Yijun, his gaze rested on Yijun. His face was expressionless. Come with me now. Sister Yijun. Yun Ruoshui panicked and grabbed Yijun's hand, her eyes glistening with tears. Yijun patted Yun Ruoshui's hand comfortingly and looked up at Lin Shi. Where are you taking me? We're going to a great place, and we're giving you a bright future. You should be thanking us. Lin Shi said disapprovingly. It's getting late, you should come with us immediately. No, I have to go. I have to bring Shu'er with me. Yijun held Yun Ruoshui's cold hand as he spoke seriously. She was the one who took Shu'er away from the Yi family, so she must not leave her in such a place. With just her? Lin Shi sneered. She wants to go with you? It's because you're talented that we gave you such a good opportunity. Trash like her, what right does she have to enjoy such a privilege? If you don't let me bring Shu'er along, then I won't go with you. Yijun's big eyes flashed with determination. Even though her voice carried the childish tone of a child, her expression was not that of a 5-year-old girl. Lin Shi frowned. I can't make the decision on this matter. Miss Rui has to make the decision. The two of you follow me first. After speaking, Lin Shi turned and walked out the door. Yijun comforted Yun Ruoshui, her childish voice carrying a calming power. Shu'er, don't be afraid, I'll protect you. Chapter 1638. In the dark room, Yijun and Yun Ruoshui had just stepped in when they saw that the people sitting in the room had stopped their discussions and turned their gazes to the two young faces. Miss Rui, she insisted on bringing her sister along, but this kind of trash. Lin Shi's grumbling was stopped by Rui. Her face was full of smiles, the corners of her lips curling into a charming curve. If that's the case, then send both of them to the Chu family. Lin Shi was a little surprised. He had wanted to ask, but when he saw Rui's expression, his words were suddenly stuck in his throat. Yijun clenched her small fists tightly. Her fierce gaze was like a sharp sword, piercing Rui's heart and making her tremble. This little girl is only 5 years old. Why does she have such a frightening gaze? When she grows up, she might even bring disaster to me. For a moment, Rui didn't know whether sending Yijun to the Chu family was a blessing or a curse. Little sister. Rui slowly stood up and put on a smile. I'm doing this for your own good. The Chu family has an extraordinary relationship with the medicine tower. Once you're connected to the Chu family, you'll enjoy endless glory and wealth. Yun Ruoshui glared angrily at Rui with her large eyes. The medicine tower's tower master is my cousin. If you dare send Sister Yijun to the Chu family, my cousin will not let you off. Father had said that my cousin was very powerful. Back then, General Yun's family had been bullied in the Longshao mainland. Eldest uncle and eldest aunt had died unjustly and grandfather had been bullied. It was my cousin who had shouldered the burden with her weak shoulders and even established the medicine tower, a force that was renowned throughout the mainland. As for the Chu family, what were they? Sister Yi-jun was my cousin's sister-in-law. She actually wanted to send her cousin to a family that relied on the medicine tower? Hearing this, Rui and the others looked at each other with mocking smiles on their faces. You say your cousin is the tower master of the medicine tower? Haha, what a joke. If the tower master is your cousin, then I'd say I'm the husband of the medicine tower's tower master. A burly man laughed out loud, obviously thinking that Yun Ruoshui was lying. Although Yixie's name was already well known throughout the continent, even Yi-jun and Yun Ruoshui's names were known by many. However, to be able to know about this, one must have enough weight in the mainland. Even the disappearance of the Yi family's child was only spread among the aristocratic families. Rui and the others were just a small group that relied on child trafficking to survive. They could be considered as the lowest level of existence in this continent. What qualifications did they have to know the name of the Yi family's child? This was also the reason why Rui and the others didn't have the slightest suspicion after hearing Yi-jun and Yun Ruoshui's names. Little sister, there are many people who want to establish a relationship with the medicine tower. Just based on you, it seems that you don't have the qualifications. Rui narrowed her eyes slightly and the corners of her lips curled into a disdainful arc. However, I have given you such an opportunity. When you arrive at the Chu family, serve the young master of the Chu family well, and your future will definitely be boundless. After saying this, Rui waved her hand and ordered coldly, Lin Shi, tie these two babies to the carriage. Only Rui and the man in the embroidered robe were leading this group of people. Since the man in the embroidered robe hadn't made any decision, everything was decided by Rui. Lin Shi waved his fist and retreated, bringing Yi-jun and Yun Ruoshui with him. Chapter 1639. Rui, that Yun Ruoshui's talent is too poor. She clearly cannot enter the Chu family. Why did you agree to Yi-jun's request? The burly man frowned and asked. Who said that I want to send Yun Ruoshui to the Chu family? I'm only doing this to appease Yi-jun. That girl is young but has an unyielding personality. She is not as easy to deal with as Yun Ruoshui. Rui sneered. In order to prevent her from making the wrong decision, I must satisfy her request. Compared to the unyielding Yi-jun, it was obvious that in their hearts, Yun Ruoshui was a soft persimmon that anyone could pinch. On the road, find a chance to separate Yun Ruoshui and Yi-jun. Then bring that girl back. On the bumpy and uneven street, a tattered horse carriage sped past. The driver was a burly man, and in the carriage sat a young man and two little girls who were about 4 or 5 years old. The younger girl held the hand of the girl next to her tightly. Her large and innocent eyes were obviously filled with fear. But the girl next to her made her heart calm down a little. Let me ask you. Yi-jun slightly raised her head and looked coldly at the young man in front of her. Besides this place, do you have any other bases? Lin Shi swept a glance at Yi-jun. That's right. Then you said before that you had captured a little boy about the same age as me. Where is that little boy now? Lin Shi was stunned. Why are you asking this? Yi-jun had wanted to ask the question directly, but she was deeply afraid that someone would use this to threaten her. She could only turn her head and reply coldly, I'm just curious. I have no other intentions. Lin Shi did not pursue Yi-jun. Instead he said, Little girl, you better know your place. When you reach the Chu family, try to cater to the Chu family. Otherwise, your fate will be very tragic. Just at this moment, the madly galloping horse carriage suddenly stopped. Lin Shi frowned slightly and said coldly, I'm going to see what's going on. You guys wait here. After saying this, she jumped out of the car. When Lin Shi jumped out of the carriage, Yi-jun hurriedly looked at Yun Ruoshui who was beside him. Shuier, listen to me. Those people will never allow you to follow me to that Chu family. I still haven't confirmed whether Big Brother has been deceived by those people. So I must stay here. Sister Yi-jun. Therefore, if they want to separate us later, you should temporarily separate from them and send a message to the Yi clan. Let the Yi clan send someone to the Chu clan. I understand. Yun Ruoshui lightly blinked her eyes. Sister Yi-jun, I will send a message to the Yi family. Wait for me at the Chu family. Yi-jun had originally wanted to say a few more words, but Lin Shi had already returned to the carriage. His cold eyes swept over the two pink and jade-carved little girls, his face emotionless. Yun Ruoshui, there is a problem with this carriage, and it cannot bear such a heavy force. Therefore, I will trouble you to ride with me to the Chu family. The carriage couldn't bear their weight? Yi Jun was dumbfounded. He originally thought that these people would find a better excuse, but little did he expect that they would randomly come up with a lame excuse. Just because they were children, they thought that they were easy to deceive? Sister Yi Jun. Yun Ruoshui's eyes were filled with tears as she looked pitifully at Yi Jun. I will come find you later. Chapter 1640. Just as she finished speaking, Lin Shi had already grabbed her arm and pulled her out of the carriage. Yi Jun's hand, which was behind her, was already wrapped in a layer of spiritual energy. If she had not been looking for her brother, she would have killed this bastard long ago. But her brother may be powerful, but he's as naive as Shua. What if he falls for these people's tricks and is deceived? What should she do? So, in consideration of her brother's safety, Yi Jun slowly retracted her aura. She gently raised her eyes, her delicate, jade-like face filled with coldness. If you dare to touch a hair on my sister's head, I will make you regret it. In the forest, Yun Ruoshui walked quietly behind Lin Shi. When Lin Shi was not looking, she sprinkled a special powder on the ground. In the years that Yun Luofeng had been away, Old Master Yi had learned how to rear spiritual beasts. Ever since Yun Ruoshui and the others had run away from home, he had sent the Yi family's spiritual beasts to search for them. And this powder was used to attract those spiritual beasts. The reason why they no longer sprinkled the powder in the straw hut where they had been imprisoned was because if the powder was sprinkled in the hut, it would be too obvious and would be easily discovered. Only when they were outside would they be able to sprinkle the powder wantonly on the ground. This was also the reason why Yi Jun had insisted on taking her away. Where are you taking me? Yun Ruoshui felt that Lin Shi was walking further and further off the path. She felt a little panicked and could not help but take 2 steps back. Her large eyes were filled with terror. Lin Shi laughed coldly and turned to look at Yun Ruoshui. His cold expression had changed and his eyes were filled with greed. Little girl, you're so adorable. I really can't bear to sell you to anyone else. He licked the corner of his lips and slowly walked towards Yun Ruoshui. Yun Ruoshui continued to retreat. Her little face was deathly pale. There was a tree behind her, and when her body was pressed against the tree, she felt her entire body turn cold. If you dare touch me, you'll definitely die. Lin Shi laughed. You're a good for nothing. Even if you're a genius, what threat can a 4-year-old child pose to you? I'm really not worried that you can hurt me. Little sister, in order to avoid pain, you'd better listen to me obediently. Whether it was out of fear or anger, Yun Ruoshui's small body began to tremble. However, her trembling appearance aroused the perverted desire in Lin Shi's heart. He was getting closer and closer. His slender fingers were already tightly caressing Yun Ruoshui's delicate little face. That feeling made Lin Shi wish that he could leave an irremovable scar on that delicate face. The little boy Yi Jun asked about, do you know where he went? TSK, I have to say that little fellow is really adorable. I casually found an excuse to take him from Rui's hands, and then chopped him into minced meat. Haha, what I love the most is nothing more than watching the terrified and struggling expressions of those little fellows. Yun Ruoshui's body was a little stiff. Tears flowed from the corners of her eyes, and her face was deathly pale. Seeing the evil hand reaching for his chest, the nails glowing with emerald green light, she covered her ears tightly and screamed, "No!" Boom! In an instant, a wave of black spiritual energy floated out of Yun Ruoshui's body. Wherever it went, everything withered. She raised her tear-stained eyes. I said that if you touch me, you'll definitely die. Why don't you believe me? Chapter 1641. Lin Shi widened his eyes in shock. He did not even have the chance to beg for mercy before he was swallowed up by the endless black spiritual energy and disappeared without a trace. It was as if he had never been there in the first place. Yun Ruoshui felt as if all the energy in her body had been sucked out. She lay sprawled on the ground as large tears rolled down her cheeks. She sobbed, "Mother, Shuaer has killed again. But they forced Shuaer to do this." In this uninhabited forest, her small body was buried by the surrounding weeds. Her shoulders trembled slightly, and her face was pale and colorless. There seemed to be a black aura gradually forming between her brows, but it disappeared completely in the blink of an eye. It was as if she had been hallucinating. At this moment, in a mountain range near the medical tower, a group of young men and women dressed in white robes were fighting against a group of spiritual beasts. These young men and women all wore the medical tower's badge on their chests. However, these badges were of a lower grade. It was obvious that these people had only just entered the medical tower. Senior brother, these spiritual beasts are too powerful. We're no match for them. So, let's leave first. A younger girl wiped the cold sweat from her forehead. She looked rather anxious. The person who had been addressed as senior brother was the leader of this group. His expression slowly darkened. In order to exchange for the medical books in the medical tower, we must obtain this serpent spirit herb. Entering the medical tower had always been his goal. However, now that he had finally managed to enter the medical tower, how could he give up on the opportunity to improve himself? He must obtain the serpent spirit herb. However, the attacks of the spiritual snakes before him were becoming more and more ferocious. Their eyes shone with a sinister light. They spat out their long tongues and their green teeth were clearly poisonous. Ah! One of the young men was bitten by a spiritual snake. In an instant, his entire arm turned green. He clutched his arm in pain and took 2 steps back. His pale face was filled with agony. Rongchong. Senior brother Yu's expression suddenly changed. He looked at the spiritual beasts guarding the serpent spirit herb and his eyes became even more serious. However, it was too late for them to change their minds now. The spiritual snakes had surrounded them, and they would not be able to escape even if they had wings. Besides, the long battle had drained their energy, and they no longer had the ability to resist. Are we going to die here today? Senior brother Yu had a sorrowful look on his face. For a moment, he regretted dragging his brothers and sisters into this hiss. The spirit snake flicked its long tongue and quickly slithered in front of everyone. A dangerous aura instantly filled everyone's heart. Just as a spirit snake was about to attack a young girl in the group, a long sword suddenly descended from the sky and instantly sliced the spirit snake into 2. Everyone was stunned and raised their heads in astonishment. In that instant, a feeling of shock spread through everyone's hearts. God. At this moment, the woman who descended from the sky was like a god, powerful and incomparably noble. She had a devastatingly beautiful face and a devilish charm. Her pitch-black eyes were filled with a condescending look as she slowly swept her gaze across the group of spiritual snakes beneath her. The woman was carrying an innocent little boy in her hand. Behind her was a tall and handsome young man. Thank you for saving my life. Senior brother Yu cupped his fists respectfully and said. Chapter 1642. You're from the medicine tower? Yun Luofeng looked down at the crowd, her demonic voice filled with boundless power. Senior Yu said somewhat embarrassedly, my friends and I joined the medicine tower not too long ago. This time we came to exchange for the medicine tower's medical books, so we came to find the snake spirit grass. If it weren't for you, I'm afraid that we wouldn't have been able to escape death. Hearing this, Yun Luofeng's demonic eyes swept across his handsome face. Your talent is not bad, and there's nothing wrong with your adventurous spirit. However, you must remember, no matter what, you must act according to your capabilities. If you can remember my words today, there will definitely be a place for you in the continent in the future. Hua! As soon as she finished speaking, Yun Luofeng's figure suddenly turned into a ray of light and disappeared into thin air. After she had left, the young people slowly regained their senses and looked in the direction that the woman had disappeared in. Who is she? Why did she speak to us in Jiaxi dialect? The young girl in the group slightly frowned, her delicate face filled with a strange light. Senior Yu thought for a moment, then said, let's take the snake spirit grass back first. At that moment, he didn't know that Yun Luofeng's words would save his life in a dangerous situation in the future. It wasn't until that moment that he finally understood the meaning behind those words. At the medicine tower, in a spacious and bright room, 2 old men sat opposite each other playing chess. Of the 2 old men, one was wearing fluttering white robes and had the demeanor of an immortal. His expression was cold as he sat there indifferently. The other old man had a smile on his face the entire time, like a cynical old man. Haha, Guyang, this time I've won again, Qingmu laughed. Why do I feel like you're in a bad mood these past few games? Guyang shook his head. I don't know why either, but I feel like something is about to happen in the continent. Pish, Qingmu clicked his tongue. Ever since the Tower Master left, the continent of No Hui has been very peaceful. How could anything happen? However, the Tower Master has already left for almost 5 years. I wonder how she's doing in the 7 continents. 5 years had passed like water, passing in the blink of an eye. However, in the 5 years that Yun Luofeng had left, there had been too many changes. At the mention of the woman who had disappeared for 5 years, Qingmu sighed. Back then, when he left the Tianhui Empire without hesitation, he had already decided to follow Yun Luofeng for the rest of his life. But as Qingmu and Guyang were chatting, Yun Luofeng was blocked outside by the people of the Medicine Tower. If you have come to the Medicine Tower to confirm your medical skills, please go out and turn right. There is a specialized appraisal place there. If you want to join the Medicine Tower, you must first appraise your level. Otherwise, no one is allowed to step into the Medicine Tower. The guard waiting outside the medical tower was expressionless as he spoke in a routine manner. Yun Luofeng was stunned. She had been away from home for 5 years, and as soon as she returned, she was blocked outside by her own subordinates? I'm here to look for someone. The little boy, who had been in Yun Luofeng's hands, struggled free. He patted his dirty robes and raised his jade-like face. I want to see Elder Qingmu and Elder Guyang. Apologies, without the emblem of our medical tower, the elders will not receive anyone. A little beggar in ragged clothes actually dared to ask to see the 2 elders? Chapter 1643. Did he think he was worthy? Yixie's face darkened and he clenched his fists tightly. He suppressed his emotions and gritted his teeth. I want to see the 2 elders. Go and inform them immediately. Even though he was the young master of the Yi family, he had never left home. How could these people from the Medicine Tower see him? What happened? At this moment a low voice was heard. The guard turned around and saw the old man walking out of the door. His face lit up with joy. Elder Chu, you're here? These people insisted on seeing Elder Guyang and Elder Qingmu, but they don't have the badge of the Medicine Tower. So, I'm trying to persuade them to go back. Chuyu nodded indifferently. His gaze swept across Yun Luofeng and the others, and a faint light flashed across his old eyes. This lady is a doctor? It had to be said that Chuyu's eyes were very sharp. He could tell at a glance that Yun Luofeng was a doctor. Yun Luofeng glanced at Chuyu's old face and nodded. That's right. She was a doctor and naturally did not refute Chuyu's words. Since this lady is a doctor, you naturally have the right to enter the Medicine Tower. However, I have a request. Chuyu's lips curled up slightly. His slightly raised chin revealed his arrogance. How about you be my disciple? Little Mo looked at Chuyu as if he was looking at an idiot. His eyes were filled with contempt. Was this old man stupid? His master was the Medicine Tower's master. He, an elder, actually wanted the Medicine Tower's master to be his disciple? Lady, accepting a disciple is all about affinity. I liked you the first time I saw you and want to take you as my disciple. Don't worry, my position in the Medicine Tower is very high. I'm second only to Elder Qingmu and Elder Guyang. I can definitely let you do whatever you want. Chuyu's tone was rather respectful when he mentioned Qingmu and Guyang. After all, ever since the tower's master left, the Medicine Tower had been brought up by these 2 elders. As for Yun Luofeng, he was only a latecomer. He could not compare to these 2 elders. Yun Luofeng narrowed his eyes. What if I refuse? Will you not let me enter the Medicine Tower? Chuyu was amused. Miss, you are the first person to refuse this old man. If you refuse this old man, not only will you not be able to enter the Medicine Tower, you will also regret it for the rest of your life. Yixie, who had been silent all this while, couldn't help but snort when he heard Chuyu's words. If she needs it, I can get Qingmu and Guyang to accept her as their disciple. Who do you think you are? How dare you use such an arrogant tone to speak to my savior? To be honest, although Yun Luofeng had saved Yixie in the beginning, Yixie was still wary of her. Only later, because he couldn't get used to flying, Yun Luofeng was willing to stop and slow down. His heart was filled with gratitude, however, Because there were too many traps at the end of the mountain range, in order to avoid wasting too much time, she took him flying in the air. Ha, Chuyu laughed coldly. Brat, don't be too arrogant. Elder Qingmu and Elder Guyang don't have any grandchildren. You think I'll believe you just because you say you know them? If she doesn't agree to become my disciple, that's fine too. I'll make you scram right now. If Yun Luofeng was willing to become his disciple, then he would definitely protect him. If she wasn't willing, then why would he waste his precious time on these people? Miss, why are you here? So you want to come to our medicine tower? Chapter 1644. Suddenly, a pleasantly surprised voice was heard. A moment later, the group of young men and women who had just been saved by Yun Luofeng from the group of spirit snakes walked over quickly. However, when they saw the livid Chuyu, they broke out in a cold sweat. Elder Chuyu, this. You're from the medicine tower? Chuyu raised his chin slightly. How dare the people of the medicine tower work together with a spy? Spy. Senior brother Yu was stunned and looked at the demonic and awe-inspiring woman next to him. Elder Chuyu, are you mistaken? This lady saved our lives before. She can't be a spy. Chuyu laughed coldly. If I say she's a spy, then she must be a spy. This lady's medical skills were not simple. Otherwise, her mental strength would not be so strong. That's right. The reason why Chuyu wanted to take Yun Luofeng as a disciple was not just because of fate, but because he had an ability to detect the strength of a person's mental strength. He had never seen or heard of such a strong mental strength. If she was not willing to become his disciple, then he would use everything he had to discredit her. Yun Luofeng crossed his arms in front of his chest and leaned lazily against a tree. His evil smile fell on Chuyu's face. He seemed to be waiting for the person he had saved to make a choice. Elder Chu, if you say that this lady is a spy, then do you have any evidence? Senior brother Yu bit his lip. If you don't have any evidence, then aren't you framing us? He did not know what had happened, but he knew that if it were not for Yun Luofeng, they would have lost their lives under the attack of the spirit beasts. So, even if they were expelled from the medicine tower, they could not be ungrateful. You! Chuyu pointed angrily at senior brother Yu. A group of people who have just entered the medicine tower dare to question my decision. Men, take these people down. In an instant, several people rushed out of the medicine tower and surrounded Yun Luofeng and the others. Over the past 5 years, there had been more and more people in the medicine tower. Naturally, not everyone knew Yun Luofeng. Just like Chuyu. Why is it so noisy outside? What happened? Suddenly, a dissatisfied voice rang out from within the medicine tower. Then 2 old figures stepped out from the doorway and entered everyone's sight. Yixie immediately saw Guyang and Qingmu. While no one was paying attention, he charged towards the 2 old men. Greenwood was startled, and when he saw Yixie charging towards him, his expression changed. "Oh, my little ancestor, why have you come to this place? The people of the Yi clan are looking for you outside, but you actually came to this endless city without saying a word. Yi family?" Suspicion flashed across Yun Luofeng's eyes as he stared blankly at Yixie's back. "Grandpa Aoki, these bad guys are bullying me." Along the way, Yixie was very strong. Even when he was heavily injured, he did not shed a single tear. Now, a layer of mist appeared in his eyes as he spoke pitifully. Chuyu's face turned pale and his body trembled. This child really knew Elder Qingmu? Furthermore, did Elder Qingmu just mention the Yi family? No, impossible. Could this kid be the little prodigy of the Yi clan? The more Chuyu thought about it, the more terrified he became. He was so scared that he almost peed his pants. Chapter 1645. But, even though the Yi family was powerful and had an inseparable relationship with the Tower Master, he was still innocent, wasn't he? Moreover, he had only been against this girl from the beginning. The Yi family's little genius had only been dragged into this mess. Therefore, his crime shouldn't be too serious. Thinking of this, Chuyu subconsciously wiped the cold sweat off his forehead and carefully glanced at Elder Qingmu and Elder Guyang, who knew that at this moment, the eyes of the 2 elders were fixed on Yun Luofeng, unable to move away from him. Qingmu's eyes were filled with disbelief. He fiercely rubbed his eyes, and when he opened them again, he saw the woman in white smiling at him. "Tower Master, you're back? I'm not dreaming, right?" Tower Master? Thump. Yu was so scared that his legs turned to jelly, and he fell to the ground on his butt, his face ashen. The hope he had originally felt disappeared in an instant, and his eyes were filled with despair. Senior brother Yu and the others were also dumbfounded, as if they had never thought that the woman who had saved their lives was the legendary Tower Master. What's going on? Guyang looked at the medicine tower guards surrounding Yun Luofeng, and his face darkened as he asked coldly, Elder Guyang. A guard swallowed his saliva with difficulty and said in a trembling voice, just now Elder Yu claimed that this pagoda master is a spy and ordered us to capture him. Every word that the guard said caused Yu's heart to tremble. No matter how much he thought about it, he never would have thought that this woman was the Tower Master. Wasn't it rumored that the Tower Master had gone to the 7 continents and wouldn't return for decades? Only 5 years had passed, and she had already returned? Yixia stared blankly at the woman in white standing under the sunlight. His bright and innocent eyes were filled with astonishment, but he couldn't bear to look away from her. Grandpa Qingmu said that she was the Medicine Tower's Tower Master? That meant this woman was his second sister-in-law. Luofeng's gaze also fell on Yixia, and he slightly narrowed his eyes. This little fellow actually lied to him that his surname was Lin? Spy. Guyang sneered and bent down to look at Yixia, who was still in a daze. A kind smile appeared on his old face as he said, Little Xia, tell Grandpa Guyang, why did these people frame the Tower Master as a spy? Yixia came back to his senses and said honestly, this old man took a fancy to her talent and said he wanted to take her as his disciple. She didn't agree, so he framed her as a spy? Hearing this, Qingmu was infuriated. He quickly walked in front of Yun Luofeng and knelt down. Tower leader, I didn't know the right person, which is why this happened. However, please don't worry, I will punish you severely. Yu's body went limp. He understood that he would not be able to escape this time. Stand up. Yun Luofeng raised his hand and helped Greenwood up. I won't blame you for what happened today. Next time when you promote someone you need to keep your eyes open. After saying this, Yun Luofeng walked to senior brother Yu's side. Your name? Senior brother Yu was stunned for a moment, then respectfully replied, reporting to the Tower Master, this subordinate's name is Yu Xiong. Your talent is not bad. I will ask Qingmu to take you as his disciple. I hope you can grasp this opportunity. The woman's demonic voice made Yu Xiong's heart jump with joy. He hurriedly knelt down on the ground. Thank you, Tower Master, for your promotion. This subordinate will definitely not disappoint you. Chapter 1646. Until now, Yu Xiong still felt like he was in a fog. He did not expect the surprise to come so suddenly. Yun Luofeng looked away slowly and looked at Yixia. He smirked. Did you say your name is Lin Xia? Yixia chuckled and took 2 steps back. His forehead was covered in sweat. Well, I was just... Yun Luofeng approached Yixia slowly when he saw him take a step back. Did you come to the medicine tower just to join it? There was a dangerous glint in her eyes. It made Yixia's hair stand on end. Yixia bit his lips softly. There were tears in his eyes. When I ran away from home, I didn't dare to tell them my real name. I was afraid that the old man would take me back. Yun Luofeng raised his brows and smiled faintly. The reason you ran away from home? Yixia's body trembled and he lowered his head slightly. I want to find my father and mother, as well as you and second brother. His gaze was very lonely. The old man once told me that you and second brother went to the 7 continents. My father and mother, in order to find you, also left home to train. Thus, since I was born I have never seen them. He raised his head, and a star-like radiance shone from his large, bright eyes. Second sister-in-law, I miss my parents that I've never met. If I could find them and reunite with my family, I'd be willing to go through any hardships or take any risks. Yun Luofeng's heart felt like it was being grabbed by a hand. His questioning voice suddenly disappeared. Ever since Yixia was born, Jun Fengling and Yi Jingchen left the Yi family for 5 years. In the past 5 years, he had not seen his biological parents, nor had he enjoyed the slightest bit of love. However, in the face of his irresponsible parents, he did not feel any resentment in his heart. It was only because he understood that his parents had left home for the sake of increasing their strength. Thus, he who had never felt any resentment had left the Yi clan just to search for his parents. It's been hard on you all these years. Yun Luofeng raised his hand and pulled Yi Xie into his chest. Yi Xie's body relaxed as he smelled the faint medicinal fragrance from the woman's body. He finally couldn't endure the grievances he had endured for so many years. He tightly hugged Yun Luofeng's waist with his arms and burst into tears. No matter how talented he was, no matter how great his reputation was, he was still just a child. At the age of 5, he should have been doted on, but at such a young age, he had to shoulder heavy responsibilities. Second sister-in-law, I really want our family to reunite. This had always been his dream. It was also because of this dream that he had worked so hard to cultivate and obtain his current achievements. Father and mother have their own difficulties. I hope you don't blame them. Yun Luofeng lowered her eyes. If it weren't for her and Yun Xiao, Jun Fengling wouldn't have abandoned the infant and gone out to gain experience. Yi Xie wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes and smiled. I know, I've never blamed them. Lord Chuyu. At this moment, a servant of the Chu family hurried over. He didn't know what had happened, but he quickly ran to Chu Yu's side. Good news. The master has found a girl to marry for young master. That girl is very talented, and young master is very satisfied. In a few years our Chu family will have a descendant. Chapter 1647. Qingmu frowned slightly. This young master of the Chu family was born with dementia. Ever since the head of the Chu family gave birth to this son, he had lost the means to carry on the family line, so he could only have one son. Therefore, in order to revitalize the Chu family, the head of the Chu family, Chu Lin, was in a hurry to find a talented and beautiful girl to nurture from a young age so that she could marry the young master of the Chu family. No one knew which girl was so unlucky to fall into the hands of the Chu family. When Chuyu heard this, he felt relieved. It didn't matter if he died, as long as the Chu family could exist forever, he would have no regrets. Moreover, today's matter was caused by him, and it had nothing to do with the Chu family. The two elders were also sensible, and they would not implicate the Chu family for no reason. Chuyu being able to find a girl who is willing to marry him is also the Chu family's fortune. But Lord Chuyu, that girl is still not willing to become the young master's wife. The head of the Chu family is training her, and I think that in a few days the girl named Yi Jun will definitely become the young madam of the Chu family. Yi Jun? This name, like a heavy hammer, hit Yi Xie's heart hard. Chuyu's body also trembled. She had just managed to stand firm, but she almost fell down again. His face was pale. What did you say the girl's name was? Coincidence, it must be a coincidence. The people of the Chu family did not know the name of the Yi family's young lady, but as an elder of the medicine tower, it was impossible for him not to know. Her name is Yi Jun. The girl is very cute, and her appearance. The guard suddenly glanced at Yi Xie and said with some surprise, she looks very similar to this young man. Boom! Like a bolt from the blue, Chuyu finally sat on the ground again. His face was once again filled with despair, and his eyes were filled with pain. It's over. He originally thought that the Chu family could escape this disaster, but who would have thought that the people of the Chu family would be so bold as to kidnap the Yi family's young lady? This time, no one could save the Chu family. Yi Xie clenched his fists tightly, and his originally innocent eyes were filled with anger. Where is the girl who was kidnapped by you? He gritted his teeth, and the sound of his teeth grinding could be heard clearly. The guard was stunned for a moment, but before he could say anything, Yi Xie suddenly made a move and kicked the guard, sending him flying. It was hard to imagine that a 5-year-old child could actually possess such great strength. Grandpa Qingmu. Yi Xie turned around and looked at Qingmu. Take me to the Chu family. Anyone who dared to touch his sister would not be let off. Little Mo curled his lips and looked at Chuyu, who was paralyzed on the ground. The people of the Chu family are all audacious. First they tried to slander my master as a spy. Then, the rest of the Chu family took away my master's sister-in-law. TSK, I think they are tired of living. Wasn't that right? Who in the Wuhui continent didn't know their master's temper? Capture Yi Jun? Wouldn't that be equivalent to sending the Chu clan to hell? Little Mo, let's go take a look as well. Yun Luofeng was silent for a moment before she raised her head slightly. A murderous intent gradually appeared on her beautiful face. Her father and mother had left the family clan for her, and Yun Xiao so she wouldn't allow her father and mother's children to suffer any harm. Chapter 1648. In the Chu family. In the hall, Chu Lin frowned and looked at the girl who was standing below him. His eyes were filled with a sharp light. I'll give you another choice. Are you willing to join my Chu family and become my son's fiancé? Yi Jun sneered. Her heroic eyes were filled with an unyielding look. Her young face had already revealed a maturity that did not match her age. How many times have you asked me? My answer is always the same. No. How dare you? Chu Lin slammed the table and stared at Yi Jun. I bought you with money. Naturally, you have to listen to me. My Chu family has a high status in Endless City. We can get whatever we want. It's your blessing to be my son's fiancé. Don't refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Hearing this, Yi Jun turned her head and looked at the young man who was standing beside Chu Lin and drooling at her. A cold light flashed in her long and narrow phoenix eyes. Her voice was as tender as ever, but it was firm. I, Yi Jun, am not that down to the point of marrying a fool. You. If it was not for his son's marriage, Chu Lin would really want to slap this stupid girl to death. Father. The young man pulled Chu Lin's sleeve and stared at Yi Jun. Little sister is so beautiful. Yu Er wants little sister to play with him. The young man's voice made Chu Lin's anger disappear. He comforted his son dotingly. Okay, little sister will definitely play with Yu Er. As long as Yu Er likes it, father will give it to you. Father, let little sister sleep on the same bed with Yu Er. Yu Er still wants to eat little sister's mouth. The young man smiled foolishly. He did not think that Yi Jun was a human. Instead, she was a toy that father gave him. Yi Jun's little face became uglier and uglier. Especially when she heard the last sentence of the young man. Her expression changed on the spot. Disgusting. She threw this sentence coldly and did not look at the young man anymore. Stupid girl, it seems that if I don't discipline you, you won't know the situation you are in. Chu Lin couldn't bear to see his son being humiliated. So when he heard Yi Jun's words, he quickly rushed in front of Yi Jun. He raised his hand and slapped Yi Jun. Yi Jun was not as talented as his brother Yi Xia, but he was still a rare genius. However, she was only 5 years old. A 5-year-old child, no matter how much of a genius he was, how strong could he be? Therefore, in the face of a middle-aged man, she was unable to move due to his imposing manner. A slap landed squarely on her face. Pa! At that moment, Yi Jun's cheeks swelled up and stung with pain. But she held back the tears that were about to fall from her eyes and continued to stare coldly at Chu Lin. Endless City is the territory of the Chu clan. You're courting death by defying the Chu clan. Chu Lin raised his chin arrogantly and looked down at Yi Jun. Besides, no matter how stupid my son is, he is the only heir of the Chu clan. If you marry him, you will be the Chu clan's young madam. Not only will you enjoy endless glory and wealth, you will also be able to walk unhindered in Endless City. Chu Lin didn't understand. Why would someone stupidly reject such a path to instant success when it was right in front of her? Could it be that this little girl could resist such a great temptation? Yi Jun. Chu Lin softened his tone and continued to persuade. If you become the Chu clan's young madam, even if you want to enter the higher levels of the medicine tower, I can let the Chu clan arrange it for you. Chapter 1649. Yi Jun raised her heroic eyebrows and her delicate, jade-like little face was filled with disdain. The Tower Lord of the Medicine Tower was her sister-in-law, and the Chu family was only her sister-in-law's subordinates. Now, these people are using the Medicine Tower to threaten me? It seems that you really don't want to marry my son. Chu Lin's eyes darkened. If that's the case, don't blame me for being impolite. Guards, drag this little girl away and beat her until she agrees. As soon as these words were spoken, 2 of the Chu family's bodyguards stepped forward and grabbed Yi Jun's arm, intending to drag her away. Just then, a childish but domineering voice rang out from thin air. It sounded like a raging flame. Beast, let go of my little sister. This childish voice made Yi Jun's body freeze. She raised her head slightly and tears welled up in her eyes. Third brother. In the air, a woman dressed in snow-white robes stood. She was devastatingly beautiful and she carried a 5-year-old boy in her hand. Even though the little boy's face was a little pale, when he saw his little sister being bullied, The rage in his heart was like a roaring wave that could drown anyone in an instant. Who are you? Chu Lin frowned and asked coldly. Yun Luofeng glanced sideways at Chu Lin and slightly curled the corners of his lips. People who have come to take your lives. Hearing this, Chu Lin was first taken aback before he burst into laughter. Then I'd like to see what right you have to take the lives of the Chu family members. A member of the Chu family was an elder of the medicine tower after all. This little girl actually dared to speak so arrogantly. Was she not challenging the dignity of the medicine tower? However, just as Chu Lin finished speaking, a cold laugh suddenly rang out from outside the door. I'd also like to see how the Chu family is digging their own grave. Chu Lin's body stiffened and he raised his head in astonishment. He stared in shock at the two old men, Qing Mu and Gu Yang, who had just entered the room. Elder Qing Mu. Elder Gu Yang, why have you come? His voice was a little stuttering as he spoke shakily. Furthermore, Elder Qing Mu claims that he's here to see me digging my own grave. What does that mean? Hearing this, a mocking smile appeared on Greenwood's face. TSK, your Chu clan is so bold. And you still dare to ask me why I came here? You even captured the granddaughter of the Yi family's old man. And you still want her to become your silly son's wife. Have you ever asked the Yi family's opinion? Yi family? Wait a minute. Could Elder Qing Mu be talking about the Yi clan? Elder Qing Mu, the Yi clan you speak of is... It's the Yi clan that you're thinking of. Thump. At this moment, Chu Lin's heart skipped a beat. His face was deathly pale and his legs felt weak. He almost stumbled and fell to the ground. Fortunately, he hurriedly held onto a nearby pillar to prevent himself from slipping to the ground. Even so, his entire body was trembling as he stared at Yi Jun in terror. It couldn't be such a coincidence, right? He just bought a little girl from a human trafficker. And this little girl was actually the lifeblood of the Yi family's old man? Father, I want this little sister to be my wife. The simple-minded young man tugged on Chu Lin's sleeve as he muttered. His eyes were filled with greed as he stared unblinkingly at Yi Jun's adorable young face. Shut up! Chu Lin roared angrily, his voice trembling uncontrollably. Chapter 1650. The young man was scared out of his wits. Perhaps he didn't understand why his father, who had always loved him, would be so angry at him. Elder Qing Mu, Elder Gu Yang, I really didn't know about this. Thump! Chu Lin knelt on the ground and trembled. It was the ferocious tiger bandits. They kidnapped Miss Yi Jun. I only bought her from them. As the saying goes, the ignorant are not guilty. Elder Qing Mu wouldn't be so unreasonable as to destroy the Chu family. A smile appeared on Yun Luofeng's evil face. She carried Yi Xie and slowly descended from the sky, landing in front of Yi Jun's little sister. Yi Xie stared at Yi Jun's red and swollen face. His heart felt like it was being squeezed, causing the anger in his heart to surge again. Who was it? Who hit you just now? Yi Jun fiercely threw herself into Yi Xie's arms. She raised her palm-sized face, her expression full of grievance. However, her heart, which had been tense for so many days, finally relaxed the moment Yi Xie appeared. Third brother, I thought you were also in their hands, so I followed them and wanted to find your whereabouts. Now that I see that you're safe, I'm relieved. She smiled. It must be said that Yi Jun's smile was very similar to Jun Fengling's. It was cute with a heroic spirit. Suddenly, a warm hand touched Yi Jun's red and swollen face. Yi Jun's body trembled slightly, but she didn't avoid the woman's touch. The woman's hand was very gentle, like a mother's. She caressed Yi Jun's painful face, causing tears to appear in her eyes. She couldn't stop trembling. Yi Jun was also a martial artist, so she could naturally feel the spiritual qi contained in the woman's hand. The moment the spiritual qi touched her face, the pain on her face gradually disappeared. Mother! Under Yun Luofeng's touch, Yi Jun couldn't help but call out. In the Yi family, she was doted on, but no one's hand gave her such a warm feeling. Except for the woman in front of her, however, she reacted quickly. She wiped the tears from the corner of her eyes and a smile appeared on her small face. I'm sorry, I missed my mother too much, and the feeling you gave me was too gentle, so I couldn't help it. Little sister. Yi Xie pulled Yi Jun over and smiled innocently. She's giving you the feeling that she's like a mother. Isn't there a saying that goes, the eldest sister-in-law is like a mother? Even though she is only the second sister-in-law, She is still like a mother. Second sister-in-law? Yijun's hand froze in the middle of wiping away her tears. She raised her head in shock and stared unblinkingly at the peerless woman in white. You're my sister-in-law? Is it really you? Her heart was pounding, and even her lips were trembling slightly. Chu Lin was completely dumbfounded. He had never seen Yun Luofeng before, but it was impossible for him not to know that the wife of the Yi family's second young master was the Tower Master of the Medicine Tower. He was also the true ruler of Endless City. But what did he just do? Not only did he want to capture the Medicine Tower Master's sister-in-law, but he also dared to spout nonsense in front of her. No wonder Elder Qingmu said that he was courting death. Thinking about this, Chu Lin finally couldn't take it anymore and fell to the ground. His face was ashen, and his eyes were filled with despair and fear. It's all that damned ferocious tiger bandits' fault. If it weren't for them, how would I have offended this woman who was called the god of plagues by the world? Chapter 1651. Sister-in-law. No matter how mature Yijun appeared on the outside, she was still a 5-year-old child. Therefore, when she saw Yun Luofeng appear, her little mouth twitched and tears streamed down her face. Shu'er is still in the hands of those bandits. If we're late, I'm afraid. Shua? Yun Luofeng glanced at Yijun suspiciously and asked, the Shu'er you're talking about is? Uncle Yun and Aunt Ning Xian's child. Boom! Hearing Yijun's words, Yun Luofeng's body emitted raging flames and the corners of his evil lips curled into a sinister smile. Juner, lead the way. Anyone who dared to touch her family must pay the price. Second sister-in-law, I want to stay behind to deal with the matter here. Yixie glanced coldly at Chu Lin, who had collapsed on the ground. His slightly narrowed eyes shot out a cold light. You and Juner go find Shu'er. Chu Lin swallowed his saliva with some difficulty. His throat was a little dry as he stared at the young face in horror. Even though the boy in front of him was still very childish, the aura on his body already possessed terrifying power. It was not difficult to imagine that in another decade or so, this little boy would definitely dominate the Wuhui continent and become the ruler of a generation. Are you afraid of heights? Yun Luofeng lowered his eyes and stared at the girl beside him as he asked softly. Yijun shook her head. No. All right, then let's go find Shu'er now. This time, Yun Luofeng did not hold back his strength. The aura in his body spread out and his figure disappeared instantly like a shadow. Little Mo, who had been following behind Yun Luofeng, was a little dumbfounded. He stared in shock in the direction that Yun Luofeng had left. His clear eyes were filled with grievance. After Master had that little girl called Yijun, he forgot about me. Wasn't that right? All these years, Yun Luofeng had never left him behind. Now he had left him behind. Fortunately, with Yun Luofeng's current strength, little Mo could leave the divine grimoire space for a while without causing any problems. Trash. In a bungalow, Rui ruthlessly stepped on the man under her feet. Her seductive face was ashen. I can't even find a single person. I don't know where that idiot Lin Shi got the guts to leave our ferocious tiger bandits. Not long ago, Lin Shi had taken Yun Ruoshui and left by himself. Who knew that his actions would offend Yun Ruoshui? To the point that Yun Ruoshui was unable to control the power that was surging out of her body, causing him to disappear from the world. However, the ferocious tiger bandits did not know what Yun Ruoshui had done. They only understood that Lin Shi had disappeared. And so had Yun Ruoshui. Rui, could something have happened to Lin Shi? The young man in embroidered clothes pondered deeply for a moment before he spoke slowly. Rui gritted her teeth. With his strength, how could something happen to him? Moreover, even if something really happened, he would have the time to inform us. He wouldn't disappear for no reason. Hence, I think that fellow brought Yun Ruoshui and fled. At this moment, Rui heard the sound of footsteps coming from outside the door. She raised her head slightly. At that moment, a small, delicate face appeared in her almond-shaped eyes. Rui was stunned. Following that, a violent rage surged forth. If it wasn't for the person next to her holding her back, she would have ruthlessly whipped this girl in the morning. Speak, where have you been all this time? Where's that stinking brat Lin Shi? Hurry up and make him come out for this old lady. Chapter 1652. Yun Ruoshui raised her hazy eyes. Her childish voice slowly rang out in the quiet bungalow. He's already dead. What she said was the truth. Lin Shi had indeed died in her hands. I killed him. However, Yun Ruoshui's next words made the people who were still in shock burst out laughing. Tsk, little girl, do you think we'll believe your nonsense? You don't have any power at all, so what if you're a genius? You're only a 5-year-old child, how could you kill Lin Shi? Rui's face was full of disdain, clearly not taking Yun Ruoshui's words to heart. Yun Ruoshui blinked. I've already said what I needed to say, it's up to you whether you believe me or not. Anyway, I'm back now, you can continue to lock me up. Humph. Rui snorted coldly. Lock this damned girl up first. As for Lin Shi, once he's in the gang, he won't be able to escape. After Rui said this, a man stepped forward, raised his hand and grabbed Yun Ruoshui's little arm, dragging her out the door. Yun Ruoshui did not resist, allowing the man to drag her out. In the damp thatched hut, following a creaking sound, everyone in the hut raised their heads and looked at the little girl who had been thrown into the hut. You're back? The one who asked this was the youth who had spoken to Yun Ruoshui and Rui earlier. It had to be said that this youth's face was gray, but it still could not conceal his handsomeness and elegance. I've come back to save you. Yun Ruoshui raised her large bright eyes. I won't let you be sold by those bad people. The crowd who had been disapproving could not help but snort disdainfully when they heard this. You can't even protect yourself, how can you save us? That's right, falling into the hands of those people will be sold to those perverts sooner or later. The children spoke one after another, none of them believing Yun Ruoshui's words. Yun Ruoshui was a little anxious. I'm speaking the truth. If it wasn't for Mother forbidding me to kill, I would have turned all these bad people into ashes long ago. Her physique was special, and the black spiritual energy in her body needed to absorb other people's aura to grow. Because of this, her mother didn't allow her to do anything. Otherwise, the growth of the black spiritual energy would bring her a fatal crisis. Forget it. We were captured and brought here. We have already accepted our fate. In the crowd, a little girl with 2 braids sighed. There was no innocence that belonged to a child in her eyes. Instead, there was helplessness towards fate. These children were all quite cute. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been abducted here. Seeing that Yun Ruoshui was on the verge of tears, the handsome youth in the corner couldn't bear to see her like this. He consoled her. All right, I believe you have the ability. Right. Didn't you and your sister want to find someone? Did you find the person you were looking for? Yun Ruoshui's eyes were misty. I haven't found him yet. Little brother, my name is Yun Ruoshui. How should I address you? Speechless. The young man said calmly. Speechlessness? Yun Ruoshui was stunned. This name sounded like a fake name. It seemed like the young man didn't want to tell her his name. You said that you can save us. How will you save us? Speechless looked at Yun Ruoshui and asked curiously. Chapter 1653. Yun Ruoshui smiled. Her 2 small canine teeth were set off by her smile and looked very cute. Brother Wuyan sure has already informed my family. My family will be here very soon. That's why I've returned to this place alone. When they arrive, we'll be saved. Wuyan smiled helplessly. You wanted to save us, so why did you walk right into the trap? You can also wait for your family outside. Yun Ruoshui was stunned. She slapped the back of her head and stuck out her pink tongue. Shuer is too stupid. I didn't think of that. But don't worry, Brother Wuyan, those bad guys can't touch me. Because anyone who bullied her would become food for the black spiritual energy and turn into ashes. An untimely laugh came from the crowd. Do you know where the ferocious tiger bandits came from? The ferocious tiger bandits are quite powerful. Because of the shady business they've done, they've befriended many powerful families on the mainland. Even if your family comes, they won't be a match for the ferocious tiger bandits. The person who had spoken was the little girl who had spoken earlier. She bit her lips tightly and her pale face was filled with despair. No one could save them, no one. Yun Ruoshui did not hear the sarcasm in the little girl's voice. She smiled innocently. My family is all very powerful. There's no problem that they can't solve. So, as long as they arrive, we'll be saved. No one took Yun Ruoshui's words to heart. As far as they were concerned, she was merely boasting. No problem that they couldn't solve? How could that be possible? Aside from the supreme medicine tower of the Wuhui mainland, who else would have such power? Just then, the sound of birds chirping could be heard from outside the house. Yun Ruoshui's eyes lit up when she heard the chirping. It's the spiritual beasts that my family has reared. They've finally found me. Countless spiritual beasts circled in the sky, occasionally letting out low cries. Rui and the rest were shocked and quickly ran out of the house. When they saw the spiritual beasts in the sky, their expressions changed. Look at the badges on these spiritual beasts. A girl shrieked. These spiritual beasts are from the Yi family. Oh my god. Why would the Yi family's spirit beast appear here? Although the strength of these spirit beasts was not high, with the Yi family's strength, it was impossible to tame spirit beasts that were too strong. However, these spiritual beasts represented the Ye clan. People couldn't help but fear him. Rui's heart skipped a beat. Vaguely, a feeling of unease emerged in her heart. She had a feeling that something was wrong somewhere. Miss Rui, what should we do now? The woman looked at Rui anxiously. If these spiritual beasts are here, it means that the Ye family will appear soon. How have we offended the Ye family? Rui's face was deathly pale. Suddenly, Yi Jun's face appeared in her mind. That girl's surname is also Yi? Could it be that the Yi family appeared because of her? No, that's impossible. Rui hurriedly shook her head, ruthlessly throwing away the thoughts in her mind. That was just a coincidence. It was impossible for his luck to be so good that he actually met someone from the Yi clan. Furthermore, if she was the young lady of the Yi family, how could she not have a strong follower? Lady Rui. Chapter 1654. Seeing that Rui did not respond, the woman called out anxiously once again. What can I do? Rui scoffed coldly. Based on the current situation, we should first figure out what's going on so that we can make emergency preparations. Besides, the Ye family is not unreasonable. If there's really a misunderstanding, it's enough to clear things up. Just as Rui finished speaking, a beautiful figure stepped on a male eagle and quickly flew into the sky. The woman was dressed in a yellow dress and was elegant and otherworldly. Her fine black hair fluttered gently in the wind like a waterfall, and her clear eyes were somewhat similar to Yun Ruoshui's. Are you from the Ye family? Rui took a deep breath, looked at the woman in the void, and asked. Ning Xian looked at Rui. I'm not from the Ye family, it's just that my niece is the Ye family's granddaughter-in-law. Rui, who had been on tenterhooks, heaved a sigh of relief when she heard this. So she's not from the Ye family. She's just using the Ye family's connections to intimidate others. If the Ye family had not come, it would mean that she had not provoked the Ye family in any way. The funny thing was that Rui did not even consider the relationship between the two. The Ye family only had one grandson who was married, and that grandson was Yun Xiao. Hence, Ning Xian's identity was revealed. She was Yun Luofeng's second uncle's wife. Compared to the powerful Ye family, Yun Luofeng was even more terrifying. Otherwise, he would not have been called the god of plagues by the world. It was because Rui did not understand this that she had committed an unforgivable mistake. Miss, is there a misunderstanding between us? Rui smiled gently. Look, you've used the Ye family's spiritual beast to scare people. If the Ye family finds out, I'm afraid you won't be able to explain yourself, right? This woman was only a relative of the Ye family, and could not even be considered as a collateral relative of the Ye family. Yet, she was using the Ye family's spiritual beast to intimidate others. Based on the Ye family's current power, how could they tolerate someone else's behavior? There's no misunderstanding between us. Ning Xian swept a glance at Rui. Her pretty face was filled with a cold intent. I'm only here to find my daughter. Daughter? Rui was stunned. Her eyes flickered a few times and she said with a fake smile, Miss, I think you have misunderstood. We don't have your daughter here. You'd better go somewhere else to find her. Ning Xian looked down at Rui and the others from above, slightly raising her hand. Miss. Rui's expression changed drastically. You've lent out the Yi family's spiritual beast. The Yi family's experts shouldn't know about this, right? As she spoke, Rui glanced at Ning Xian from the corner of her eye. When she saw Ning Xian slowly put down her hand, the smile on her face deepened. With the Yi clan's influence, they will hate it when others use their reputation to oppress others. If you make a move against us today and the Yi clan hears about it, perhaps the Yi clan's old man will directly order his grandson to divorce your niece. Ning Xian gently stroked her chin with her fingers. A hint of a smile appeared in her eyes. What you said seems to make sense. So, I want to see if the Yi family will divorce Feng. Wait a minute, Rui was startled. How many grandsons of the Yi family have married? Also, she had just addressed my niece as Fenger. Rui's face turned a little pale. An answer that was on the tip of her tongue was fiercely suppressed by her. Her slightly trembling lips were unable to say a single word. Chapter 1655. You. Who exactly are you? Rui's voice trembled. She no longer had her initial contempt and arrogance. Ning Xian smiled. I've already said that my niece is the Yi family's granddaughter-in-law. Do you want the Yi family to divorce my niece? Rui opened her mouth and wanted to ask the question in her heart. Unfortunately, before he could finish his sentence, a young voice suddenly rang out from the void. Second sister-in-law sure was hidden by them here. Everyone present was extremely familiar with this voice. Rui lifted her head stiffly and looked at the two people who were rushing over from the void in the distance. In the azure blue sky, a woman dressed in white was extremely beautiful. She held a 5-year-old child in her hand. This child was extremely adorable, but his eyes were filled with heroism. Yi Jun? Wasn't she sent to the Chu family? Why is she here? And that woman in white, who was she? Ning Xian? Yun Luofeng's gaze swept over and landed on the woman in yellow who was standing on the eagle's back. A look of surprise flashed across his eyes. Ning Xian also saw Yun Luofeng at that moment. Her lips moved slightly and a light appeared in her eyes. It was as if she had 1,000 words to say. However, when she saw the woman, she could not say anything. Aunt Ning Xian. Yi Jun smiled. You're finally here. Shu'er was locked up by these people. Aunt Ning Xian? Yi Jun addressed this woman as aunt. Did that mean that Yi Jun was from the Yi family? Swoosh. In that instant, Rui's face paled and her body swayed. Fenger. Ning Xian smiled. Why are you back? Yun Luofeng shrugged. I offended some people and they want to take revenge on you. I came back to deal with them. Oh yes, did anyone cause trouble for the Yi family during this time? Ning Xian thought about it and shook her head. No one came to the Yi family. Yun Luofeng relaxed when he heard that. It seemed that he had arrived in time. The Holy Lady's tribe had not appeared at the Yi family. Who are you? As Yun Luofeng was muttering to himself, a trembling voice came from below. Rui stared fixedly at the peerlessly beautiful face. Her entire body was trembling, afraid that she would hear an answer she did not want to hear. Are you asking me? Yun Luofeng smirked. My name is Yun Luofeng. Boom! In an instant, like a bolt of lightning, Rui's body trembled violently, and with a bang she fell to the ground. The others also turned pale as they stared in horror at the woman who was standing in the void. Yun Luofeng? She is Yun Luofeng? My god! It's actually that old god. Just what sort of enemy did our ferocious tiger bandits offend this time? Within 5 years, there was a saying circulating in the Wuhui continent. One would rather provoke the king of hell than provoke Yun Luofeng. Otherwise, you will end up like the 3 great families of Endless City. But who would have thought that the person they kidnapped this time was actually Yun Luofeng's cousin? Yi Jun's gaze swept across and he lowered his head to look at the group of people with ashen faces. Previously, Shu'er said that the Medicine Tower's pagoda master is her cousin. But do you remember what you said at the time? Yi Jun paused and smiled brightly. You said that if the Medicine Tower's pagoda master is her cousin, then you are the pagoda master's husband. Chapter 1656. At that moment, the 2 women in the sky turned to look at the ferocious tiger bandits. The expression of the person who had spoken earlier changed. His face was now filled with despair. Just then, a sharp cry pierced through the sky and rang out from a thatched hut not too far away. Ning Xian's expression darkened. You guys, keep an eye on this group of people. Don't let them escape. Once she had given the order, the spiritual beasts in the sky roared angrily and surrounded the ferocious tiger bandits. Even if the spiritual beasts had not surrounded them, the bandits would not have dared to have any ideas. The Ye family's power was overwhelming. If they dared to escape this place, They would certainly be hunted down by the Ye family. They might even suffer an even more severe punishment. Yun Luofeng did not hesitate either. His body turned into a ray of light and charged towards the thatched hut. Outside the thatched hut, the two guards who had been sent by Rui quickly pushed open the door and entered when they heard the commotion. When they saw the scene in the thatched hut, they immediately screamed in fright. The little girl hugged her knees tightly. Her body was filled with black spiritual energy. Within that spiritual energy, a man's body was wrapped tightly as he wailed in agony. Soon, his body gradually dried up and turned into a pile of ashes, which drifted through the entire thatched hut. The children in the hut were scared silly. Their astonished gazes fell upon Yun Ruoshue's childlike face as they gulped with difficulty. Especially the little girl who had mocked her. She was so shocked that she could not say a word. I've said it before, I was the cause of Lin Shi's death. Why don't you believe me? Yun Ruoshue raised her childlike face, her large watery eyes filled with sorrow. If you had believed me, you wouldn't have provoked me over and over again. The two ferocious tiger bandits did not know what had happened, but they knew that the girl in front of them was a demon. Run! The two of them looked at each other, turned around and fled. However, just as they turned around, a figure suddenly appeared in front of them. Just as they were about to collide with that person, a wave of energy suddenly surged from that person's body. With a loud bang, their bodies were flung out of the way. Yun Ruoshue's body stiffened. The moment she raised her head, a beautiful and dignified face was reflected in her eyes. A layer of tears appeared in her eyes. She suddenly stood up and threw herself at the woman while crying loudly. The woman opened her arms and hugged her little body. She smiled gently and said, "Sure, I'm sorry that I'm late. Mother, why don't I go and provoke others? There will always be people who come and provoke me. I already said that if they provoke me, they will definitely die. But they just don't believe me." Yun Ruoshue felt very wronged. She never lied, but no one believed her words. Ning Xian's heart ached as she hugged her daughter. Her slender fingers gently ran through her daughter's silky hair. Her eyes filled with tenderness. "Shui-er, I won't let anyone hurt you in the future." Her fingers brushed past Yun Ruoshue's brow. The black aura between the girl's brows made Ning Xian's heart wrench, and she sighed heavily. The more people Yun Ruoshue killed, the more her life would be in danger. This was also the reason why she did not allow Yun Ruoshue to kill anyone. In the straw hut, there was a young girl dressed in ragged clothes. Compared to the others, this young girl was much older. She was about 12 or 13 years old, and her clothes seemed to have been torn by someone. She cut a sorry figure. Chapter 1657. The young girl hesitated for a moment before gathering her courage and walking up to Yun Ruoshue. She said timidly, "Thank you for just now. If not for Yun Ruoshue's help, she would have lost her chastity to that bastard." Ning Xian raised her eyebrows and turned to look at Yun Ruoshue, clearly asking her what had happened. "Mother, that person just now was one of the accomplices who kidnapped us. He wanted to humiliate this big sister. Shu'er couldn't stand it and quarreled with him. Then she couldn't control herself and killed him." Yun Ruoshue pursed her lips and teared up. Shu'er really didn't do it on purpose. He was the one who made the mistake first. Ning Xian sighed. She could not bear to blame Yun Ruoshue, and instead hugged her petite body tightly. "Shu'er, believe in me. One day, I will make your body no different from a normal person." Yun Ruoshue nodded hurriedly. Suddenly, she seemed to have thought of something and turned to look at the house full of young boys and girls. She smiled innocently. "I've said it before, my family will definitely come to save me. As long as they come, what can the ferocious tiger bandits do?" The crowd was speechless. After a long while, a young girl spoke up in a timid voice. "The ferocious tiger bandits have a very powerful background. Many forces on the mainland are related to them. If we offend them, we will definitely suffer." The power behind the ferocious tiger bandits? Just at this moment, a cold and demonic voice sounded from outside the house. After a while, a girl dressed in white walked in slowly. Her beautiful face curled into a sinister smile. "I wonder what kind of power is behind the ferocious tiger bandits." The young girl was stunned. She only knew that the power behind the ferocious tiger bandits was very powerful. As for how powerful it was, she did not know. The Wind Cloud residents of the Peerless Empire, the Lu family of the Tianhui Empire, the heavenly sound sect of the Liyue Empire, and… She glanced at the young girl speechlessly, then turned to look at Yun Luofeng and told him everything she knew. In addition, I heard that the ferocious tiger bandits are also related to the Chu family of Endless City. Yun Luofeng narrowed his eyes and smiled. Second aunt, do you understand? I've already destroyed the Chu clan. As for the other forces, I'll leave them to you. The ferocious tiger bandit group has committed all sorts of crimes, and the other forces that are connected to them must have also committed heinous crimes. I should also return peace to the Wuhui continent. Everyone was stunned. This woman has such a big tone. Just because of a disagreement, she said that she would destroy so many powerful forces in the Wuhui continent? Where did she come from? What's more, she just said that the Chu family had already been destroyed by her. The youth called Wu Yan quietly looked at Yun Luofeng, his eyes twinkling. No one knew what he was thinking. Mother? Yun Ruoshui blinked and turned to look at Yun Luofeng. Who is this sister? Why did it give her such a familiar feeling? Ning Xian smiled as she stroked Yun Ruoshui's head. She's the cousin Mom and Dad mentioned to you. Yun Ruoshui's eyes immediately lit up. Only the heavens knew that she had wanted to meet this cousin, whose name shook the entire continent for a long time. She never thought that she would meet her at such an occasion. She was so excited that she could not stop herself from jumping up and down. Cousin. She struggled out of Ning Xian's embrace and walked to Yun Luofeng's side. Her face innocent and pure. Sure often hears father and mother talk about your heroic deeds. So, you have always been Shu'er's idol, and also the goal that Shu'er has always strived for. Chapter 1658. Yun Luofeng lowered his head to look at the childish face of the child in front of him. His heart seemed to have been struck by something and was instantly filled with tenderness. Your name is Yun Ruoshui? You can just call me Shu'er, Yun Ruoshui said, giggling. Yun Luofeng's lips curved into a smile. Her finger gently pressed against Yun Ruoshui's brow. At this moment, Yun Ruoshui felt that his hand was like a thorn, fiercely stabbing into the space between her eyebrows. Soon after, a warm stream of spiritual energy flowed from the space between her eyebrows to her entire body, making her feel extremely comfortable. Second aunt. Yun Luofeng turned to look at Ning Xian. Her body is a little special. I can only use this method to temporarily suppress the spiritual energy in her body. When I find another way, I will come back to help her. From the first time he had seen Yun Ruoshui, Yun Luofeng had sensed that something was wrong with her body. If this continued, in a few years, Yun Ruoshui would be swallowed up by the black spiritual energy in his body. Ning Xian's heart was filled with worry when she heard this. Fenger, are you unable to help Shu'er? Actually, Yun Luofeng paused for a moment then slowly said, it's not that there's no way to save her. I have the ability to make the black spiritual energy in her body completely disappear. But if I do that, she will no longer be able to cultivate and will definitely become a piece of trash. Ning Xian's face lit up. She did not care about her daughter's talent. As long as her daughter was safe, that was enough. However, before she could speak, Yun Ruoshui hastily interjected. No, Shu'er doesn't want to be a cripple. If Shu'er becomes a cripple, then I won't be able to follow in my cousin's footsteps. I absolutely don't want that. Ning Xian's heart trembled. She wanted her daughter to live, but she did not want to go against her own wishes. Fenger, is there any other way? Yun Luofeng shook his head. I agree with Shu'er. I don't recommend completely eradicating the spiritual energy in her body. Instead, we should make it our own. Not only will it not harm Shu'er, it will also become her strength. However, I don't have the ability to do this for now. Ning Xian sighed. Fenger, when you can help Shu'er, will Shu'er still be alive? If her daughter could not survive, then she would rather her daughter become a cripple, and she would take care of her for the rest of her life. I have already sealed the spiritual energy in her body so that it cannot affect her body. However, I can only seal her for 5 years at most. Within 5 years, I will find a way to help Shu'er. Yun Luofeng pondered for a moment then continued, if I can't help her in 5 years, then I will help her get rid of this spiritual energy. Ning Xian's body stiffened. She lowered her eyes to look at Yun Ruoshui's youthful face, and made up her mind. Alright, I'll listen to you. Yun Ruoshui wasn't too worried. She smiled innocently. Cousin, you're so powerful. You'll definitely be able to help Shu'er. Shu'er believes in you. Shu'er believes in you. The girl's tender voice made Yun Luofeng's heart more and more determined. Just this one sentence alone was enough for her to help her. Wait for me for 5 years. 5 years later, I will definitely make Shu'er a peerless genius. Ning Xian looked at Yun Ruoshui, then back at Yun Luofeng. Her clear eyes were filled with determination. Shu'er, in the future, Feng will not only be your cousin, but also your master. Do you understand? In the future, no matter how great your achievements are, you must remember that all of this was given to you by Feng. Your life was also given to you by her. Yun Ruoshui nodded confusedly. Mother, Shu'er understands. Chapter 1659. If the person who said this was someone else, Ning Xian would not have believed them. But because it was Yun Luofeng, she believed that Yun Luofeng had the ability. The 2 members of the ferocious tiger bandits were already trembling in fear from Ning Xian and Yun Luofeng, unable to speak. They were still wondering why Lady Rui was not here yet. Although they had seen the strange phenomenon in the sky, they did not think much of it. They did not know that the spiritual beasts were here for the ferocious tiger bandits. If I'm not wrong. Wu Yan was silent for a while, then looked up at Ning Xian. You're from the Ye family. I heard that the Ye family's granddaughter-in-law's surname is Yun, and the second master's wife is called Ning Xian. I wonder if that person is you? Ning Xian narrowed her eyes and smiled. You sure know a lot. The young man smiled. There's nothing on this mainland that I don't know. Oh. Ning Xian raised an eyebrow. Then how did you end up in the hands of the ferocious tiger bandits? The young man's eyes flashed. Even a horse stumbles, I was just careless. Clearly, he did not want to say anything more. Since you're the second master's wife, then. The young man slowly turned his head, his gaze landing on Yun Luofeng. You're the god of plagues of the limitless mainland, the master of the medicine tower, Yun Luofeng. Wow. The crowd was shocked. In the limitless mainland, they may not have heard of Ning Xian, or know who the #1 genius of the Ye family was, but they would definitely know the name Yun Luofeng. From centenarians to 3-year-olds, they could all recite Yun Luofeng's deeds. Although she was called the god of plagues, she was the faith of the entire mainland. Especially years ago, Yun Luofeng, in a fit of rage, destroyed the 3 major forces of Endless City for his disciple. Even now, it was a story that people loved to talk about. The 2 members of the bandit group were scared silly. They were so scared that they peed their pants. Their pale faces were full of fear. The Ye family? Yun Luofeng? Oh my god, what kind of powerful person did they provoke this time? Compared to the frightened people, Yun Ruoshui's smile was even brighter, like a ray of sunlight that shone brightly. See, I've said it before, to my family, the ferocious tiger bandits are nothing. Do you believe me now? The crowd was silent. A moment later, the young girl who had initially questioned Yun Ruoshui stood up and bowed deeply in front of her. I'm sorry, I didn't recognize Mount Tai. Please save me, I want to go home. Yun Ruoshui wasn't the type to hold a grudge. The premise was that the other party didn't cross her bottom line. Therefore, she smiled embarrassedly at the girl's apology. I've said that I'll save you, so I'll definitely bring you out of here. Yun Ruoshui lifted her head and looked at Wu Yan. Brother Wu Yan, where's your house? I'll get my mother to send you back. Ning Xian frowned and subconsciously glanced at the young man's handsome face. She could tell that her daughter was special to the young man named Speechless. However, the young man was too mysterious. He was so mysterious that she did not want her daughter to interact with him. Speechless was silent for a long time before he said, My parents passed away and I'm alone. Ning Xian sneered. You have no parents, how would you know so much about the continent? You even said that there's nothing on this continent that you don't know? Chapter 1660. Wu Yan fell silent. He seemed to be thinking about something. After a long pause, he seemed to have made up his mind as he stared fixedly at Yun Luofeng. I want to talk to you in private. Feng. Ning Xian's heart clenched when she heard this. She looked at Wu Yan warily, afraid that he would harm Yun Luofeng. On the contrary, Yun Luofeng's lips curled into a smile. Second aunt, please take the others out first. I want to talk to him in private. Ning Xian was still a little hesitant, but in the end, she chose to believe in Yun Luofeng's decision. Shu'er, let's go. Don't disturb your cousin. She swept her gaze across the children. Now that you're free, I'll send someone from the Yi family to escort you home. Then, she shot a sharp glare at the two members of the ferocious tiger bandits. You dared to kidnap my daughter. You must pay the price. Whoosh! In that instant, two spiritual beasts swooped down from the sky and landed in front of Ning Exan. Take these two and bring them back to the Yi family for further punishment. Once everyone had been dealt with, Ning Exan stepped out of the room and left the space for Yun Luofeng. Yun Luofeng smiled as he gently stroked his chin. Now you can tell me who you are. I can't tell anyone about my identity. Wu Yan raised his head, his pitch-black eyes filled with determination. However, I hope that you can accept me. If you accept me, I'll definitely be of help to you in the future. Help? Yun Luofeng chuckled. Someone has placed a seal on your body. How can you help me? The youth's expression froze. He had clearly expected that he would not be able to hide the condition of his body from Yun Luofeng. I believe that you have a way to help me remove the seal. Reason? Give me a reason? Or should I say, what do I get out of helping you? Yun Luofeng would never do anything that did not benefit him. Thud. Wu Yan suddenly knelt on one knee and said respectfully, I have nothing to give you. The only thing I can give you is my life. If you are willing to promise me, from now on my life belongs to you. Alright, I agree. The woman's evil voice was like a light breeze that entered Wu Yan's ears. Speechless widened his eyes in disbelief as he stared at the woman in white in front of him. She agreed? Why? Everyone said that Yun Luofeng was vicious and merciless, cold and merciless. Why didn't she ask for the reason? Why didn't she understand his identity before agreeing to his request? This was too illogical. With that thought in mind, Wordless felt uneasy. Aren't you going to ask about my identity? If you don't want to tell me, I won't force you. I've always trusted my intuition. Her intuition had always been accurate. For example, when she picked up the little boy that she named Wu, her instincts told her that there must be something wrong with that boy. Thank you. Wu Yan's voice was a little hoarse. I can't tell you my identity now. When the time is right, I will tell you the truth. However, I can promise you that I will never betray you in this life. The youth's eyes were bright, so bright that they were as dazzling as the sun. I still have something to do, so I can't bring you with me. Now my task for you is to stay in the Yi family and accompany Shura as she grows. Chapter 1661. The youth was stunned. The mission that Yun Luofeng had given him was to accompany a little girl? Wasn't this a little overkill? Master, even though my strength has been sealed, there are still other uses for me to follow you. You? Yun Luofeng frowned. I don't like anyone questioning my decisions. If you don't carry out my orders, I can only ask you to leave. The woman's words were sinister and cold, causing the youth's heart to tremble. He lowered his head. Wu Yan is willing to obey Master's orders. Given my current powers, I still can't remove the seal for you. Give me some time, and I'll think of a way to help you. Yun Luofeng glanced at the youth, and a light flashed across her eyes. Just now, the voice of the Tree of Life by Xiao had sounded in her mind. Master, this youth isn't from this world. Not from this world? What do you mean? Bai Xiao hesitated for a moment and sighed. There are all sorts of strange things in this world. In this world, there are naturally countless continents. The seal in this youth's body is a little special. Master, with your current powers, you can't help him. You can only remove the seal when you're stronger. However, before Yun Luofeng could ask for more details, Bai Xiao continued. Youth, there are some things that I won't tell you that are also very beneficial to you. I won't say much. You just have to know that your current powers are still not strong enough. Yes. Her current powers were still not strong enough. Only by becoming stronger would she be able to help Shui Heir, and even more friends and family. Many people had already gathered on the streets. When they saw Rui and the others being escorted out by the Yi family's spiritual beasts, their eyes were filled with shock. Especially when there was a group of kids following behind them who were still wet behind the ears. You may leave. Ning Exan turned to look at the children behind her. The Yi family's spiritual beasts will send you home. Some of the children left gratefully, but there were still some who hesitated and did not leave. Ning Exan raised her brows. You're not planning to go home? The girl who had initially questioned Yun Ruoshui was silent for a moment before saying, "My parents have already been killed by the ferocious tiger bandits." After saying this, tears welled up in her eyes. When the ferocious tiger bandits wanted to kidnap me, they were discovered by my parents. In for a penny, in for a pound, in for a pound. They killed my parents and even pushed their corpses down the cliff. The girl's cries infected Yun Ruoshui, and her eyes reddened. "Mother, she is so pitiful. Let's help her." Ning Xian frowned and looked at the other children. "What about you guys?" Hearing this, the group of children explained one after another. Some of the children had no parents to begin with and had been begging outside. They had undoubtedly been targeted by the ferocious tiger bandits, while others had been sold at a low price by their relatives who lacked money. They would rather not return to that kind of place. Otherwise, they would not be able to escape the fate of being sold. "Miss Ning, I beg you, don't send me back." A girl hurriedly knelt in front of Ning Xen and cried pitifully. "That year my uncle was sick. My father was eaten by a spiritual beast while he was picking herbs for him. My mother also died from grief because of my father's passing. I was adopted by my uncle and aunt, but my aunt sold me to the ferocious tiger bandits so that my cousin could marry a wife. Sob sob, I don't want to go back." Chapter 1662. Yi Jun had always abhorred evil. When she heard the girl's cries, her face turned red with anger. How can there be such cruel and unscrupulous people in this world? "Aunt Ning Xian, let's take these children in. The Ye family has a large business and we don't lack people." Ning Xian furrowed her brows. After a long while she relaxed. "I will send someone to investigate the situation. If it's true, the Ye family will take you in. If I find out that you're lying, I won't be merciful even if you're children." She would never allow anyone to harm her family. The girl smiled through her tears. "Thank you, Miss Ning." "Thank you, Miss Yi Jun." Yun Ruoshui stepped forward and helped the girl up. She blinked lightly. "Do you want to settle the score with your uncle and aunt?" The girl was stunned and quickly nodded. "My father died because of him, and before he died, he asked his companions to bring the medicinal herbs to him. Otherwise, he would have died a long time ago. However, they were ungrateful and betrayed me. How could I not want to get even with them?" "Mother." Yun Ruoshui looked up at Ning Xen. Her large, watery eyes were filled with innocence. "Why don't you take her as your disciple and teach her how to cultivate?" Ning Xen was stunned. This girl was quite talented. If she was taught well, she would be successful in the future. Furthermore, she would never reject her daughter's requests. "All right, I will impart the cultivation method to the children who are left behind today. How far you can break through will depend on your own talent and hard work." Ning Xen paused. "If you can break through to the level I want you to in 5 years from now on, the Yi siblings and Shui will be under your protection." Yun Ruoshui and Yi Jun were still young. These children were the most suitable to be their guards, of course. All of this depended on their achievements. The children were overjoyed. They never thought that they would have the chance to enter the Ye family and receive Ning Xian's personal guidance. They even had the chance to become the Ye family's followers. Just as Ning Xian finished speaking, Yun Luofeng walked over with Wu Yan. Wordless Sword's previous indifferent composure was replaced by a respectful expression on his handsome face. "Feng Ning Xian walked quickly to Yun Luofeng's side. "How was it? Did you find out where this little guy came from?" Yun Luofeng shook his head. "This matter is not important. What is important is that he will stay in the Yi clan and protect Shuo." If it had been someone else, Ning Xian would have rejected the arrangement without asking about the other party's identity. But the person in front of him was Yun Luofeng. She believed that whatever decision Yun Luofeng made was correct. "Okay." Ning Xian agreed without hesitation. Yun Luofeng raised the corners of his lips. Even though Wu Yan's strength had been sealed, he believed that Shu'er would definitely be safe with him by her side. "Brother Wu Yan." Yun Ruoshui smiled innocently, looking adorable and innocent. "From now on we're friends." "Friends?" Speechless was stunned. He lowered his head and looked at the girl's outstretched hand. A string in his heart seemed to be plucked. So he could also have friends? For some reason, he held Yun Ruoshui's small hand. It was also at this moment that he made up his mind. Even if he had to exhaust his life, He would use his entire life to protect that innocent smile on the girl's face. Chapter 1663. Feng old man, you and second uncle miss you very much. Ning Xian's gentle gaze fell on Yun Luofeng. Do you want to go back with me? All right. Yun Luofeng nodded slightly. After 5 years, she really should go back and meet the old man and second uncle. Country of wind and cloud. On top of a mausoleum, Yun Qingya sat on a hillside with a pot of wine in front of him. He held a jade-colored flute in his hand and gently blew on it. In front of him there were 3 tombs. 2 of the tombs had obviously just been moved, but the words on the tombs were especially dazzling. On these 2 tombstones there were 2 vertical lines of words. Yun Tian's tomb. Bai Ling's tomb. Yun Qingya quietly looked at the 3 tombstones, her clear eyes filled with sorrow. Big brother, big sister-in-law, the old man and I have already left the dragon-howling continent and moved your graves to the side of General Wen's tombstone. Yun Qingya's handsome face carried a faint smile. I believe that in the underworld, you have already heard about Feng's deeds over the years from the general, and you can be at ease. Not only has Feng found a good husband, her own strength has also transcended the secular world. If you were still here, you would definitely be gratified by her current achievements. Oh right, big brother. I forgot to tell you that I'm already married. My wife is very beautiful and I love her very much. My daughter is innocent and cute, and she is also my flesh and blood. If you were here, you would definitely be happy for me. In this world there aren't many people that I admire. Big brother, you and sister-in-law are 2 of them. Your heroic nature and sister-in-law's heroism are not inferior to a man's. Both of them are moving. When the day comes, I will also be able to meet you 2 in the underworld. Big brother, sister-in-law, General One, let me toast you. Yun Qingya put down the jade flute, picked up the wine cup in her hand, and scattered it on the ground. Suddenly, the cry of an eagle came from ahead. Yun Qingya raised her eyebrows and looked over. In an instant, a group of eagles with the Yi family's emblem appeared in his line of sight. At the same time, the people standing on the eagle's back also reflected in his eyes. Xener brought Shuer back? Yun Qingya's lips curled up. He was about to speak when he suddenly saw the white-clothed woman standing beside Ning Xian. Feng. He was startled for a moment, and a hint of joy appeared in his originally sad eyes. Feng's home. 5 years. God knows how much her relatives in the Wuhui continent missed her in the past 5 years. Unfortunately, this girl had been gone for 5 years and there had been no news of her at all. Even the members of the Yun family who had confidence in her strength could not help but worry for her. Second uncle? Yun Luofeng also saw Yun Qingya standing below. With a leap he jumped off the eagle's back. Second uncle, why are you here? Yun Qingya smiled. Ever since your parents' graves were moved here, I've basically had to come and talk to them every month, and General One, back then, he risked his life to save Yi Jingchen, so I should come and visit him often. Hearing Yun Qingya's words, Yun Luofeng slowly turned around and discovered the grave behind him. Father, mother, I'm back. She faintly raised the corner of her lips. I haven't come to visit you for many years. Do you blame me? However, Yun Luofeng paused for a moment. Bai Xiao said that there are countless wonders in this world. If there really is an underworld in this world, then even if I have to turn the underworld upside down, I will still save you. Chapter 1664. Yun Qingya laughed bitterly. How could a place like the underworld exist? This was just the imagination of the people of the world in order to mourn for their loved ones, however. He did not interrupt Yun Luofeng. His clear eyes stared at the woman's determined face as the corners of his lips curled up slightly. Big brother and sister-in-law would definitely be extremely gratified to see the current Feng previous chapter next chapter boom. At this moment, a loud sound suddenly came from the city not far away, causing the entire ground to tremble. What happened? Yun Qingya's expression darkened. She slowly turned her head and looked at the dust in front of her. Her eyes gradually turned cold. Ning Xian descended from the sky and stood beside Yun Qingya. Her expression was also filled with seriousness. The place where the commotion came from seems to be the Yi family. Yi family? Just as these 2 words fell, Yun Luofeng, who had been standing beside them a moment ago, suddenly disappeared. Her body was like a bolt of lightning as she quickly shot out. Big brother Yun, let's go take a look as well. Even after 5 years of marriage, Ning Xan was still used to calling Yun Qing a big brother Yun. Mother, Shuer wants to go as well. Yun Ruoshui pouted. Her black eyes were limpid and clear. Shuer Jr., you and the others stay here. Ning Xan paused for a moment before continuing. I'll go see what's going on first. Yi family. A group of experts descended from the sky and blocked the Yi family's doorstep. The leader of the group was a woman. This woman was extremely arrogant, and her eyes were filled with contempt. It was obvious that she did not place the group of people in front of her in her eyes. This mission seems to be very easy. As long as we can take down these people, it will be enough. Before coming to the Yi family, she had already investigated the situation of the Yi family. Even though the Yi family was famous in the Wuhui continent and no one dared to provoke them, it was a pity that they were too weak in front of the Holy Maiden tribe. May I know who you are and why have you come to my Yi family? Old man Yi hurriedly walked in from outside the door. He frowned slightly and looked warily at the people blocking the Yi family's door. Even though the people in front of him were just a group of women, Old man Yi could feel a terrifying power from them. I heard that Yun Luofeng's family is in your Yi family? The woman sneered. I won't make things difficult for your Yi clan. Just get those people out here. Old Master Ye's face darkened. These people had come for Yun Luofeng's family? Now that Yun Luofeng was not in the Neureturn continent, he had a reason to protect her family. Lady, you are too arrogant. In the limitless continent, no one dares to capture someone from my Yi clan. Old man Yi snorted and flung his sleeves. A powerful force was emitted from his body, causing his gray robe to flutter even though there was no wind. The woman stared blankly for a moment before bursting into laughter. Old man, don't you know that there is always someone better than you out there? That's right, your Yi family is indeed very strong in the limitless continent. Unfortunately, in front of our sacred maiden tribe, you are vulnerable. She curled her lips into a contemptuous smile. The maiden tribe? The old man was a little confused. Where did this force come from? Why had he never heard of it? You are not from the limitless continent? Only this answer could dispel the doubts in his heart. At least you have some eyesight. For this matter, you can't blame me. You can only blame Yun Luofeng. He killed a member of our sacred maiden tribe. Our sacred maiden tribe can only find trouble with his family. Chapter 1665. The woman raised her head slightly and said with a face full of arrogance. Grandfather Ye's face suddenly changed and his gaze became even more serious. Old man, you'd better make a choice. Will you protect the Yun family? Or will you share the crime with them? The woman smiled coldly. Suddenly an aged voice sounded out from behind, and it carried insufferably arrogant arrogance. In-law, since these people are here for the Yun family, then your Yi family shouldn't meddle in this business. I want to see what the sacred maiden tribe can do to me. The woman narrowed her eyes slightly and her dangerous gaze gradually turned to the old man in silk clothes. Who are you? The old man raised his chin and said arrogantly, I will never change my name. I am Yun Luo of the Yun family. I am Yun Luofeng's grandfather. Humph. The woman smiled sarcastically. I didn't expect you to not be afraid of death and dare to come out. Yun Luofeng rolled his eyes at her, his old face full of contempt. Why wouldn't I dare to come out? You losers dare to threaten me? Who are you calling a loser? The woman stared angrily at Yun Luofeng and fiercely gritted her teeth. Yun Luofeng's face was full of disdain. You said that my precious granddaughter killed the sacred maiden tribe's people. Then aren't you my granddaughter's losers? If it wasn't for the fact that you can't do anything to my granddaughter, do you need to come to the Wuhui continent to find trouble? You. The woman's face was livid and she pointed angrily at Yun Luofeng. No wonder you have such an inhumane granddaughter. It turns out that it was all taught by you. Heinous people like you should go to the 18th level of hell. Come, take this old man down. I want to see if he still dares to be so arrogant. Swoosh. In an instant, the sacred maiden tribe leaped up and quickly rushed towards Yun Luofeng. Facing these people's attacks, Yun Luofeng laughed twice. My precious granddaughter did nothing wrong. She only kills those who deserve to be killed. If you dare to lay a finger on me, my granddaughter will definitely overturn your sacred maiden tribe. The woman trembled in anger. It's enough to capture the others as hostages. Kill this old man with a cheap mouth for me. In fact, Yun Luofeng's original intention was to provoke these people. He would rather die than drag Yun Luofeng down. Be careful. Old Man Ye's expression changed drastically. His body reacted faster than his brain. Just as those people's attacks were about to reach him, he blocked in front of Yun Luo and forcefully withstood that palm strike. Boom! The old man's body was sent flying and he coughed up a mouthful of blood. A huge force spread out in the courtyard, causing a huge explosion. The entire courtyard was filled with dust, covering the azure sky. In-laws! Yun Luo's old face turned pale in an instant, and he hurriedly walked to Old Man Ye's side. In-law, what are you doing? Don't you know that I deliberately angered her so that she would kill me? That would be better than capturing me to threaten Fenger? Old Man Ye coughed twice, and blood kept flowing out of his mouth. His face was pale and colorless, and his breathing was very weak. Yun Xiao isn't my biological grandson, but in my heart he's no different from a biological grandson. So I've always treated him and Fenger as family. Fenger, she placed you in the Yi family because she believed that our Yi family could protect you.